like how to delegate. I started to like read on the skill I wanted to grow in for years. I listened to podcasts, I studied. I just was like, I need to set that as a target. Even if it's not tomorrow, I'm gonna need to get help for the scale and the vision and where this thing is gonna go. No question, I learned more than ever before that teamwork makes the dream work. And it's not just business. That's true in life as well. I'm learning that it takes a village to raise a child, right? We have a brand new son, and we just think we're so blessed and privileged for kind of this synergistic, loving, incredible community that's building here in Vegas. And I recognize there's been seasons where we felt isolated, disconnected, in a different city without much of a friend group or network, and I'm empathetic to whatever your situation might be, but I want to encourage you to find a community to connect with, because you need a team in life, a team to help, if you just get stuck in your own thoughts, you can't bounce those thoughts off anybody else, you got to talk things out, you got to process issues. So just having a team in life has been critical. We survived 2020 and I believe thrived in 2020 because of the community around us, the team around us, and then the family team as well. Most of our family lives a state away, a couple states away, up in Washington State, while we live in Nevada. But even still, leaning in on family, and we consider the Think Media team family in different aspects. Teamwork makes the dream work. You got to build your team. You got to commit to building your team. For me, I prayed to build my team. God, help me find a team. Help me find a crew. Help me find a community. Help me find a tribe. Help me find a group to do life together with. Help me find, in my belief, and we respect any belief here at Think Media, but I'm a Christian, and I believe that being connected to a local church is critical to just surviving in life. Like I need it. I believe that God designed us to be in community, to where we're being encouraged each week, where we get to worship each week, and where we get to be in community. And so I'm so grateful for City Light Church here in Las Vegas. And man, I wouldn't have got through 2020, even when we just could watch online, because teamwork makes the dream work. Finally, lesson number 5 of part 2. And if you missed part 1, definitely check that out on the podcast. Go back in the YouTube channel or Spotify or Apple. And let me know, what was a lesson you learned in 2020? Good or bad, something 2020 taught you, but a lesson and a learning that you extrapolated from the year. Post that in the comments. But number 5, count your blessings and keep things in perspective.
Well, there's a saying that atrial fibrillation begets atrial fibrillation. It is a progressive condition, and the earlier that it is detected and treated, we can prevent that progression, and there's a better chance to maintain normal rhythm for a patient when it's detected earlier.
So the question of what are the symptoms of atrial fibrillation, it can be quite variable for patients, and that can also be a challenge because everyone may not have the same symptoms. But in general, the common symptoms are going to be a rapid pulse. Some people may feel palpitations, an irregular pulse, which can also be felt as palpitations. People can sometimes feel short of breath, possibly chest discomfort, dizziness, fatigue, exercise intolerance. Rarely, but sometimes people can pass out.
If it's not detected early, not only can it be progressive, but it can lead to other cardiac problems such as weakening of the heart muscle or a condition called congestive heart failure. And it's also been demonstrated that if patients have atrial fibrillation and it's not identified and they're not treated with a blood thinner to protect them from a risk of stroke, it could also be a risk factor for dementia. So protecting the overall cardiac health, protecting and preventing the progression of atrial fibrillation, preventing perhaps onset of dementia and risk of a stroke. These are all reasons why it's important to identify it and treat it as early as possible.
I am getting along with my wife better than I ever have. All you have to do is agree to something that you would never do. Farmer's market? Oh boy, would I!
Going on, I've learned this no matter what situation you're in. Sonia and I have been months away from being zero in our bank account and even going bankrupt. We've lost homes. We've been under massive health challenges, and Sonia has continually battled a chronic illness. I think even some of the strength and fortitude that I felt in 2020 is because I had my 2020 back in 2009. I mean, we experienced financial devastation, health devastation with my wife almost dying, our community falling apart, our whole church community and our friend group all melting all around us because of some bad decisions by a few people that reverberated through our whole church community. We had a chance to actually let 2009 cause us to get bitter, cause us to get sidelined, cause us to give up, give in, or just move us to inaction. But we learned some of these lessons that now, a decade later, they're even stronger in my life. And I think that has really helped us navigate this year. But one of the biggest lessons was that whether you're in the hardest of times or even the best of times, you still got to count your blessings. I like to start my day sometimes when I'm feeling a little off, and I just go to my journal and I just write down things I'm grateful for, big or small, and I just like to count my blessings and keep things in perspective. And when I think about how 2020 hit people so hard in so many different ways, again, maybe we had to stay home, and maybe depending on where you live, you had different limitations in a city or different things. But even as I was like, shoot, we can't visit our family in Washington, we started to do other things. And one of the things we learned in 2020 was going on a lot of hikes with my wife, Sonia, because we were like, we got nothing else to do. We're not even allowed to see the Think Media team or friends in the city or anything else. So like every single weekend for the entire lockdown, I went on more hikes with my wife, Sonia, during the pandemic when it first started than we had in our entire 15 years of marriage. And what's crazy is that it became a habit, and now it's something that is almost a weekly occurrence for us. It's transformed our health, it's transformed our relationship, it's transformed my stress levels. Because, man, who would have thought if you get off your phone and get into nature and disconnect and exercise and breathe fresh air for a few hours away from everything, at least like once a week, what that would do it kind of makes sense. But again, even in the midst of the crisis, there was this seed of opportunity to spend more time and really strengthen our marriage, and now even spend time with our new son. Time resting and recovering. I think a lot of us learned that the pandemic gave us a pause. It had us slow down depending on our schedules. And you could look at it as like, man, I lost my job, or you could look at it as it's time to reinvent myself. It's time to reflect and time to think about my next moves. And for me, I was traveling so much, and I was probably going at a pace that at least was quite grueling, if not a little too much. And I found that, wow, margin is healthy. Time for rest and recovery. Margin to read and learn. I realized that the pace I was going, and even the way, and a lot of it was so many good things. So many just different invites from friends to speak at events and be a part of different things. And so falling back in love really with reading, starting 75 Hard and starting to dive into books again, and it bringing a whole nother level of stimulating my mind and bringing me to an elite level of thinking and really giving me some margin to dream even during really hard times. And we watched a lot of great shows. I tell you what, like if you want to talk about the record holder for spending the most money per month on digital streaming services, my wife Sonia and I for sure have. Amazon Prime, that one's fair because that's the free shipping. HBO Max, yeah, Raised by Wolves. We had to, Stars because of the Seduce, the Nixium cult. You don't even really want to go there, but it's pretty interesting. HBO Max has The Vow on it as well. Netflix, of course. Hulu, you're like, what? Yeah, and then Disney Plus, basically all of them. And what happens is, we really only like to watch like the best of the best of the best shows. And then we'll be like, well, that's on a platform we don't even have. Next thing you know, we're signing up. And then I'm like, honey, we'll just cancel it after the cancellation period. We forget to do that. And so we just took out a loan in order to pay our monthly, stream. I'm just kidding. Right. But we were able to watch a lot of great shows. And you might be like, I feel the same way. I finished Netflix in 2020. I didn't just watch, I finished the whole platform with a VPN, counting all the options in other countries. Come on, stick with me. And so, count your blessings though and keep things in perspective. There was so many things we couldn't do. Literally our schedule got changed. Plans we had got canceled. Things had to be rearranged. but we pivoted our plan. You can either pivot or you can panic. And we pivoted and we're counting our blessings, the memories we made, the time that we got to spend with each other, keeping things in perspective. And, I love this quote that I'm reminded of. That's actually in the book of Corinthians in the New Testament. And it says that these light and momentary troubles are nothing compared to the surpassing glory that awaits us. And, as I kind of land the plane on this one, when I think about counting your blessings and keeping things in perspective, for me, just being real and raw with you as a person of faith, it helped me just reframe, because you got to know I got a lot of fears. Like, God, what does the future hold for my son, Sean Bradley? Like, what's the economy going to be like? What's our country going to be like? What does the future hold for our team? Even if maybe we are able to pivot and adapt to this, what's the future of you two? I mean, I'm just like you, worried, about the future, about what's going to happen next, about, are my parents going to be okay? I hope, are they going to get this thing? Like, what's going on? But I have to be reminded that as a person of faith, and as a Christian, my belief is that if I'm right with God, if I'm right with my family, my goal in life is to steward the time that I have here, to steward my time, my talents, and my treasures. And 2020 challenged me to lean deeper into my faith and into prayer, to say, man, my attachment with open hands is not really to this life. As a believer, I believe in the life to come, and that whether I've got a day left on this planet, or I've got a year left, or I've got 100 years left, I'm just here to steward my time, be faithful. I want to live up to my God-given potential, to love my wife, hopefully do well by the team in my life, honor God with my time, and honor God with my heart, and all those things. And so learning and trying to cultivate an anchored faith of, man, even if everything's falling apart around me, not everything has to be falling apart within me. And 2020 was a chance and a challenge to have inner peace cultivated, which I think is critical for maybe what's to come in 2021. An inner peace, an inner confidence, an inner health, an inner calm to take on whatever is to come, and to face every challenge, and to try to be, as much as, and we all fail, we all fall, but to try to realize, man, I want to be strong for those around me. I want to be strong for the team. I want to be strong for my son's looking up to me now. All those different things. And 2020 was a chance to keep things in perspective, that look, man, especially here, and we live in America, I'm like, man, kind of first world problems. I'm not trying to minimize the pandemic, but man, if I'm right with God, I've learned the secret of being content in any and all circumstances. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. If I'm right with my family, man, if my family respects me and things are going well with Sonia, I mean, we fight. And there's days when maybe things are not going well with Sonia. But when I think about, on the big scale, the strength of our marriage and what we fought for and gone through counseling for, and where we've fought to get to, my definition of success I stole from John Maxwell, that at the end of my life, if the people closest to me love and respect me the most, I've won. It's not about the YouTube subscribers or a gold play button or a silver play button. If at the end of my life, the people closest to me love and respect me the most, I've won. Doesn't matter how much is in the bank account. I would like there to be more in the bank account than less, but that's not what matters. That it's just my conduct and my character that I believe matters overall. And 2020 was sure a chance to, if you will, strengthen our character. So I hope these points serve you going into 2021. Double down on content, double down on community, double down on personal growth. Lifelong leaders or lifelong learners, keep learning. Double down on team, commit to getting help. You need help, I need help, we all need help. In all areas of our life, we cannot do this alone or go very far on our own. And then keep things in perspective. Count your blessings in the entire process. I really believe it's less about the destination and it's more about the journey. And so commit to the journey, count your blessings, keep things in perspective, and buckle your seatbelt, because 2021, we've got an unreal year of content planned for you on the Think Marketing podcast. So thanks for listening to these lessons. Check out part 1, and now let me kick it back to Heather.
New Got to Be Curled for different curl patterns. Own your style with New Got to Be Curled.
Wow, those 10 lessons over the last episode and this episode were so impactful. I love how Sean shares his heart and his faith and really just dives into what it means to be a leader, what it means to be someone who is trying to grow online. And I hope that this brings some relatability to what you're doing. I think these lessons are lessons that we've kind of all learned, and it's a really good reminder to just take that audit of what happened the year before. Have a place like a journal or a Google Doc where you're recording these different things that are happening throughout the year. We here at Think call it our victory log. Now, I know we have these 10 lessons that you learned over the last episode and this episode, but throughout the year, if you're just keeping track of some of the victories that are happening, some of the small wins and some of the big wins, I think it'll help you when you go back to reflect on the year to remember all of the things that have happened, the good, the bad, the ugly, but really the last one that Sean said were the blessings. Knowing that we are so blessed to be able to bring content like this, that you are so blessed to be able to bring content to your audience, this is awesome. And so I just want to thank you so much for being a part of the Think community. And if you've not actually rated and reviewed the podcast, that probably is your next step after you're done listening to this one. We love to read the reviews that you're leaving over on Apple iTunes. And really, what does it do? Well, when you rate and review the podcast with us, it allows iTunes to put this podcast in front of other people just like you who are wanting to grow on YouTube. And today's review comes from Echo, and it says, "No joke, it's that good. Everything is well executed. The sound quality is on point with thoughtful and enriching questions." Echo, I'll make sure to tell our team who loves audio about that comment. You also said, "I am for it. I want more of it." If you're not convinced, check out the Think Media YouTube channel that has over 1 million subscribers and endless high quality content. It will alter your flip cam experience. No joke. Best for entrepreneurs and people that want to tap into the YouTube vault of passive income or just express themselves better using video and online marketing. Happy listening. Wow, what a great review. And I would love to read your review on a future episode. So make sure you go over, rate and review the podcast today. And this episode was brought to you by the Think Masterclass. If you're ready to go deeper on YouTube, if this is your year to start or grow your channel, or if you are ready to get serious about growing your channel, then you should watch our YouTube class. You can go to thinkmasterclass.com. That's where you can register for this free 1-hour class that Sean Cannell shares, where he gives the 3 secrets to YouTube success. He dives into what's working right now, how YouTube has changed, and what you need to know to be successful on this platform this year. This is a 1-hour class that you can take on your iPhone, tablet. You can listen to it while you're driving or on your computer. But I recommend taking it in a distraction-free zone where you can be honed in on this 1-hour class where Sean's delivering free content that he normally teaches inside of our paid academy. You can go there right now at thinkmasterclass.com, register for that class, and then throughout this year, we're going to be sending you more information through email so that you can stay up to date with what's happening all over Think. I want to thank you again for being a part of our community. Thank you for leaning in, for listening, for being an action taker. That's who we know our community is, and I'm so grateful that you are here. I'm excited for future episodes. Like Sean said, we have some power-packed content coming your way, and I can't wait for you to hear more on the Think Marketing Podcast.
Handsome. And hello, random chair. Clean Cleanup with Apple Intelligence means goodbye chair. iPhone 16e. Latest iPhone, greatest price.
Videos all by yourself can be really overwhelming. I mean, think about it. When you watch a movie and there's all those credits at the end, that's who you are when you're creating videos all by yourself. And in today's episode, Sean's going to be breaking down his 10-step checklist for making amazing YouTube videos. My name is Heather Torres, and I am your host of the Think Marketing podcast. If you're new here, welcome. We release a brand new episode every single Tuesday, so make sure you are subscribed wherever you're consuming this content from. Now, today's episode is power packed. Sean is going to be walking through the 10-step checklist that you can use on your next YouTube video. Here's what's great. This is the same checklist that we are still using here at Think, from going from solo creator into having interns and help, and now into a full-blown media company. This is the exact checklist that we give to our students of our Video Ranking Academy, and we're sharing it with you here on the podcast. And I want to let you know before we get into this episode that we now have open registration for our next YouTube Influence Challenge. This is a 7-day challenge to help you jumpstart your YouTube channel right this year. So I'll give you more info at the end of this episode. Let's get into today's content.
Hey, Sean Cannell here, and I'm fired up to share my 10-step YouTube checklist with you. And first, 3 powerful strategies to help you stay productive, stay consistent on YouTube, publishing videos, and also do it with more peace of mind. Listen, I've posted over 2,000 videos on YouTube. For years, I've tried to be consistent on YouTube as the shooter, the editor, solo creator, probably just like you, and it can be really overwhelming. And so this checklist has helped me not just get things done and make sure I don't miss a step, but also reduce my stress in the process. And so here's 3 big strategies that I think are key for staying consistent on YouTube when you're trying to juggle family, school, work, kids, a life, sleep, all these other types of things. And strategy number 1, and then we'll get into the 10-step checklist, is batching, batch producing. Now, this is not a new concept, but maybe you're hearing about it for the first time on the Think Marketing podcast. And this is the clustering of similar tasks. In this case, we like to shoot multiple videos all at once. To give you an example, at the time of recording this very Think Marketing podcast, we are actually going to record probably 6 or 7 episodes all in one day. But you don't have to go to that level. You may just want to shoot 2 videos at once instead of just 1. That's going to help you get ahead. Eventually, you may feel comfortable recording 4 videos on a Saturday morning, and then you've got a video a week for an entire month. The idea is not just setting up your camera, setting up the lights, taking a shower that day, getting your microphone and your batteries charged and everything just to shoot 1 video. If you're going to batch and cluster similar tasks, take all of that energy and invest it in shooting as many videos as possible. And when I think years back when I was a solo creator, and I would oftentimes try to shoot 2 to 3 to, if possible, 4 videos all in one cluster. I would go to the loft in my house, set up my tripod, set up my camera. I would print out all my notes and put them, you might use an iPad or your phone, and I would shoot 1 video after another video after another video. I'd have all of that content on the SD card, and then it's ready for editing after batching. The second big strategy is block time. Blocking time on your schedule ahead of time to create a batch of videos. This might be saying that this coming Saturday from 9 to noon, it's video shoot time. You're going to record all those videos all at once. For the recording of this series of episodes on the Think Marketing podcast, this has been on my calendar for over a month. So looking ahead at when is the next time you're going to shoot some videos. Now, you also might want to block time for editing. Maybe 1 week you shoot 3 videos all on a Saturday morning, and then maybe it's 2 weeks later on a Thursday evening where you're going to upload upload all those videos to your computer, drop them all in the timeline of your editing software, whatever your process is, or just edit them on your phone. You're blocking time on your calendar to get similar tasks done. And the other powerful thing about block time is it's also focusing your energy. You know, if your energy goes to a little bit of editing, and I'm a new dad, so I at the time of recording this, my son Sean Bradley Cannell's about 8 weeks old, and I definitely understand that when I have to do daddy duties and try to be productive at work, my focus is split. My energy is split. So it's a blessing when Sonia can focusly take Sean Bradley so I can put all my energy into whatever I need to get done. Conversely, when I take Sean Bradley now, Sonia loses her mind. She's like, I'm so productive. Just the fact you took him for 2 hours, I was able to get so many things done because my focus wasn't split. Think about block time. Communicate with your family. Communicate with those around you. Get help from a sister, from a mom, from a friend, and put some block time where you can not just be fully present with your time, but also with your mind and your energy. And then number 3 is get help. Get help. You want to have a more productive shoot day. I have been through countless shoot days where it's just been me in the room, right? I got my camera set up. Feels pretty lonely. I'm talking to the lens and you're like, there's nobody here. There's nobody there to even just keep you on track. And that can be challenging. So when possible, try to get a shoot day assistant. And before you say, Sean, I don't have any money to hire anybody, this could look a lot of different ways. It could be, again, somebody that just wants to kind of learn the ropes and volunteer to just make sure that the red button stays on the camera and it's actually recording. Somebody with headphones on, someone that is a cousin, a brother, a friend, or maybe you already are a business owner and it's somebody that can just jump in to be present in the room with you. Again, it could be a spouse. It's very powerful to have a shoot day assistant. For me, in the early days of Think Media, as I was transitioning out of being in the side hustle season into the solopreneur season, where it was really just me, earning enough to be full-time, but not with anybody really paid beyond some contractors here and there, I went to a local Las Vegas meetup because I was looking for help. And I met a guy named Jay, and he said, hey, I actually saw Think Media. We had about 16,000 subscribers then. And I saw that you go to NAB here in the city. I would love to maybe go help, because he wanted to go to NAB. He wanted to kind of hang out. He wanted to learn some things. And so he was actually a volunteer for a couple months. And I finally had like a shoot day assistant, and he was learning and we were getting into the flow of things. Eventually, I started paying him kind of part-time or just a low amount of kind of internship money. And then eventually it grew into just his normal rate, and we worked together for a season. Think about how you could scale into having a shoot day assistant. If anything, I've learned the power of accountability. If somebody is going to have to actually be there waiting for you at 9 a.m. on Saturday during your shoot day batch and your shoot day block time, it's a whole nother level, because now you have a person that's on the other side that's actually, holding you accountable in a way. There's just something powerful about having somebody else in the room if possible. And so those are the 3 big strategies. But now let's get into the checklist. Number 1, 10 tips for making sure your next YouTube shoot day goes awesome. Number 1, think about, we're going to go through the AVL, the audio, video, and lighting. We're going to start with video. Number 1 is video. Before your shoot day, if possible, get all your gear ready and even get it set up before your shoot day. For this Think Marketing podcast recording, the gear was set up the day before, not even the morning of or even right before the shoot. And here's what I want you to think about. I want you to think about, is your camera good to go? Do you have SD cards ready, and are they cleaned off and formatted? Do you have your batteries charged and maybe even extra batteries for your shoot day? And do you have all the little pieces and parts that you're going to need for your shoot day? I've learned this the hard way. I have oftentimes thought, okay, I'm going to block time, get started creating content at 10 a.m. And then 10 a.m. rolls around and I'm like, where is that little tripod screw? And then I'm like, oh shoot, the battery's dead. Now I need to wait a couple hours before I can even turn my camera on. And then I'll be like, oh shoot, the SD card is full, but I haven't captured this footage yet. So I need to actually sit on front of my computer, make sure the footage is captured. My friend, if possible, get all of the assets that are going to be recording your video content ready the day before your shoot day, and you're going to feel better for it. Number 2, audio. Do you have your microphones ready? Do you have batteries for your microphones if needed? Some shotgun mics I use 9-volt batteries. Some use AA batteries. Many today are either not powered or they're powered by, they're rechargeable. Make sure they're charged up. But oftentimes, when I've used like 9-volt batteries, if the mic's been dead, I didn't have another 9-volt battery sitting around. Now you got to drive to the store or potentially wait a couple days to have some batteries shipped from Amazon to your house. The same thinking. Number 1's video. Number 2's audio. Do you have your mic ready? Do you have your audio set up? And then number 3 is lighting. Again, can you set it up a day ahead? You got your light stand, you got your softbox lights, whatever it is you need. In the description, we'll link to some resources, because if you're not watching Think Media for the best video, audio, lighting, and even stabilization resources, we've got all of our current recommendations for every budget on our Think Media YouTube channel. So definitely check that out. And then number 4 is the set. If you can set up your set ahead of time, then your shoot is going to be better for it. This is maybe an area of your house that you keep clean. This is maybe an area of your house where you figured out, yes, it's lit. You've put some stuff up on the wall. It's the place where you shoot. Space might be limited. You may not have a place where you can have the set up all the time. So set it up ahead of time. If possible, eventually dream about how you could build a permanent set somewhere so that it's easier for you to create content. That's number 4. Number 5 is your wardrobe. And a tip here is just the ability to rotate layers of your outfit, so that if you shoot multiple videos in a batch, you could potentially have, say, 4 outfit changes. Now, this is totally up to you. If you want to wear the same thing, cool. If you want there to be variety in your videos, great. You know, if you're a female, maybe you have different wardrobe changes that you want to make that are more dynamic. For me, I like to keep it simple, and I like to do layers. Today, for the recording of this very Think Marketing podcast, if you are just listening on audio, I'm wearing a mint green t-shirt, and I brought a couple different jackets. In fact, I'm going to wear a black jean jacket, a gray jean jacket, a blue green jean jacket, and then just no jacket. And there's my 4 wardrobe changes. Boom. Switching them out one by one. I've been doing this for a few years. I've actually purposefully buy clothing for video, since also, if you're only listening on audio, this is only waist up. So a lot of it just has to do, I don't even have pants on. Just kidding. And so number 5, though, is wardrobe. Set that out ahead of time. And I know there's been days where I've, thought I was going to wear a certain shirt and then realized thing is wrinkled as heck. Now it needs to be ironed. You're just thinking ahead and trying to remove any friction. And so if your wardrobe is set up ahead of time, you'll be good to go. Number 6, your video outline. To me, this is bullet points and critical call to actions. Now, I don't really read off a teleprompter unless we're creating a sales video for an online course or a program or something that's more detailed like that. Typically, I go off an outline. The Think Media team typically goes off an outline and has, right now I've got an iPad in front of me and I've got Google Docs open, and all of our Think Marketing podcasts are outlined right here. I've got my 3 strategies, 1, 2, 3. I've got my checklist, my 10 points, all outlined. And that's what I'm using to go through this content today. I think not only do you want to have a strong video outline prepared ahead of time, but if you're going to batch produce, this is critical. So maybe you've got your 3 videos outlined. What's the title? What's the kind of opening hook? What's going to kind of be the grabbing opening idea that would make people want to watch or listen to the end? What are the points that you want to hit? What do you want people to do next on this Think Marketing podcast episode? You're hearing from Heather. She's actually covering the hook. She's covering today's call to action. We say this episode's brought to you by. She's hitting all of those things. I'm focusing on the core content, and it was all outlined ahead of time. And here's the big key. For me, this almost needs to be a different day. I can pull it off if I do it like the morning of, like a couple hours, and I know I'm going to shoot later in the day. But I've noticed it's almost like 2 different sides of the brain for me, where sitting down, thinking about what I'm going to say in the video is one set of block time, one session, and then actually delivering the content on camera is a second kind of side of the brain. And so I like to have, if possible, all of that outlined. And one power tip beyond that is I found that if you want to level up your content, finish your outline and then let it breathe. I found that if I don't do things last minute and then just kind of rush and prepare my points, but if I get my points done and then I go for a run, sleep on it, think about it in the shower later, watch some YouTube videos, watch the news, maybe an illustration pops up, maybe a tweak pops up, maybe something I think actually didn't really make sense. That was a very strong point. I find that if you let your content breathe before you record, it actually gives you the opportunity to make your content stronger. So we talked about number 1, video. Number 2, get your audio set up. Number 3, get your lighting right. Number 4, get your set up. Number 5, get your wardrobe laid out for your batch shooting block time day. Number 6, get your video outline. And number 7, shoot the video. So now you're going to sit down and record the video or the videos. And we have done all these steps in this very shoot right now. I'm talking over here on the Think Marketing Podcast YouTube channel, right to camera. We got the SD cards, we got the batteries, we got other batteries being charged at the time of shooting this. And as I mentioned, today we're going to be shooting probably 6 to 7 different episodes of the Think Marketing Podcast. Plus, we're also going to shoot some snippets for social media around some of our holiday promotions. We're going to cover a whole bunch of different things, and we're clustering it all in one day. Over to my left, we've got a little clothing rack with the wardrobe changes, and this is where we've scaled to. I mean, at this point, we've got Kyle and Omar and Heather in the Think Marketing Anderson studios. But hey, no matter what level you're at, I don't encourage you to go from 0 to 8 videos in one day. Maybe just try to shoot 2 on a Saturday morning, again, by yourself with your smartphone, following some of Omar's tips from the Think Media channel. But you got to shoot the content. Block the time. When are you going to shoot the content? And then press record. Now, big tip number 8, make sure to also shoot thumbnails. You've put a lot of work in so far, but now that you've recorded those videos, shoot thumbnails as well. And sometimes we shoot thumbnails on entirely different days, and we like to just get different facial expressions, different stances, positionings, different creative ideas for what we're going to use for thumbnails. But if you're going to batch produce your videos, you should also batch produce your thumbnails. So you have a lot of thumbnails to pull from. The other thing that this will really benefit is it's not just the videos that you're going to use those thumbnails for. You might use them for social media. Again, these are just photography. These are just pictures. If all you have is a smartphone, put the 10-second timer up, get in some decent lighting, get a decent background, and give yourself a little Dropbox folder of thumbnails of photos you can choose from for your videos, but also for your live streams. You might be sitting, around on some kind of a special day when you really think there's an opportunity to go live, and you think, shoot, I don't have a good image of me with good lighting, or maybe it's night and it's like hard to get good lighting at that moment. If you already have a cluster, a batch of thumbnails to pull from, you'll be better for it. And then number 9, shoot B-roll, which is another word for extra footage if necessary. When I was creating videos for Think Media back in, say, 2015, and I, again, was doing it all, and I had to think through all these different steps, that's why I use this checklist. That's why I want you to have this checklist, because you get done spouting off on camera, and now all of a sudden you're seeing stars and you haven't been actually consuming enough oxygen. You're just feeling a little dizzy. It's really easy to forget. Oh, shoot, I forgot to shoot thumbnails. Oh my gosh, I forgot to even mention that point because you didn't have an outline. The other thing that you can forget is a lot of times I like to shoot the talking head portion of the video, knowing I'm going to lay the extra footage over later, but I don't teach a little bit and then show with the B-roll, and then teach a little bit and then show the extra footage. I like to lock down the shot as we have right here, deliver all the what's called A-roll, that's all the talking head portion of the video, and then have a list potentially, or even kind of look over my script or look over my points, and then shoot the visuals that can enhance that A-roll. That's why it's called B-roll. If you're in editing software, layer 1, A-roll. Layer 2 is the B-roll clips, the extra footage video clips in your editing software that is right above the A-roll. And so, for example, if I was talking about one of my favorite cameras, the Canon M50, I might go through a list of points and go through a list of tips and go through a list of examples and explain everything I want to explain in the video. Then I have a number 9, extra footage that I start thinking, okay, this is what the visual will be. during this time when I was explaining that point, and I'll get some just general cool shots of the camera on a table. I'll get some actual shots of using the camera, maybe from a different day. This potentially could be. I may get that extra footage ahead of time. I may get it after, and I think, okay, my wife Sonia and I and our son, we're going to go to Town Square here in Las Vegas. Let me bring the Canon M50 with me to actually shoot some examples of it in the real world. While we're out and she's, in a store shopping or doing whatever, I might put the camera on a bench in the nice sun with the cool, plants and the cool, aesthetics that are happening in an area like that, and get the extra footage that's going to enhance that video. Thinking ahead about my calendar, where can I get the extra footage, the B-roll clips, and the shots that I want to enhance that video? And in some cases, I may shoot my 4 videos in a batch all at once on one talking head kind of shoot day, and then know that over the next few days, maybe I'm going to travel, maybe I'm going to do something where I could actually capture extra footage. So what does this come back down to, my friend? Planning, thinking ahead. 6 words: think things through, then follow through. Spending time in planning sometimes feels boring, or sometimes feels like you're not really being effective, you're not really being creative. My friend, every minute you spend in planning brings you a 1000% return on your energy. Planning this all out, getting this locked down on a Google Doc, getting this all outlined and thinking the whole thing through is going to save you a lot of time in the long run and help you stay consistent with your YouTube content even when life gets busy. Which brings us to checklist tip number 10, shoot photos for social media. So these are a little bit different than, say, thumbnails, although you might use those as well. Thumbnails are really optimized to be a YouTube thumbnail, whereas social media, you might think, well, when I put my new video out, what if I had a cool photo that I could use as a swipe up or a call to action on my Instagram stories? Do I have a cool shot of, maybe in our case, we do tech reviews, do I have a cool shot of this microphone or this camera that's kind of more in like a lifestyle setting that I could use on my Instagram profile or on Facebook as a still image? Do I have any social media content that I want to create to promote my YouTube video later? Once my YouTube video comes out, have I got a few extra photos, extra video clips, anything that I might want to upload on IGTV or make an Instagram reel? Just a thought where, again, even if you just pulled out your phone and shot some content that is for that video that's going to come out later, now when you edit that video, post that video, optimize that video, now you've got content that is on your phone where you're just on the couch Saturday morning, you haven't taken a shower that day, chilling with the fam, but you're like, hey, the new video's out, and I got a bunch of stuff on my phone that I can use now to promote that video. I can upload a cool photo on Twitter. I can, share on these different social media platforms, which can help give you an edge. Because if you want your post to stand out on social media, if you want your content to stand out in a noisy world, you want it to be thoughtful content, creative content. And that can lead to more people clicking through and watching your YouTube video, more people discovering you, more people subscribing, more views. And never forget that your YouTube channel grows 1 view at a time, 1 subscriber at a time. And so consider taking social media photos consider shooting photos for social media as well. And so, quick recap, here's your checklist. And let me know in the comments, especially if you're watching this on YouTube, when is your next batch shoot day? When are you blocking time to edit the videos on your hard drive? When are you going to do the thing you need to do next to stay consistent with 1 significant post per week on your YouTube channel? Number 1, get your video right, your camera's right, your battery's right. Number 2, get your audio right. Do you have your mics charged up? Are they ready to go? Number 3, how's your lighting? Is your lighting set up? Number 4, how can you make your set better? Is your set good to go? Number 5, get your shirts ironed. It's time to get that wardrobe dialed. Do you want to schedule a haircut before your next shoot? Whatever it is. Number 6, get your videos outlined ahead of time. We use Google Docs. Number 7, shoot the video, show up powerfully, and you're going to be so much more confident because you're that much more prepared when you get to this stage. Number 8, shoot thumbnails after you've shot your video, and don't just shoot one. get 6 different poses like this, 7 different poses like that, and you'll be able to pull from that cluster of photos later, and you'll be thankful that you shot extra options for your thumbnails. Number 9, shoot extra B-roll if needed and extra footage if needed. And number 10, shoot photos for social media so you can promote your videos later. I hope that this checklist has been helpful. Apply the 3 strategies and the 10 checklist tips, and my friend, you're going to be able to put out more content than ever before, and the content's going to be better.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode and you wrote down all 10 steps. And you wrote down all 10 steps for creating your next YouTube video. Again, these are the steps that we still use here at the for all of our YouTube videos. And these are the steps that I'm using when I'm solo creating content on my side channel as well. So I can let you know that the these steps, if you follow them one by one by one, will really help you when you are creating content for your YouTube channel. Now, if you have not rated or reviewed this podcast, I want to encourage you to go over to Apple iTunes, rate and review so that we can read your review here on the podcast. And today we've got one from Spano Mano. He said, "Finally, I've been making videos for a while now, but even with good reviews and positive interaction, I wasn't growing. Now, with the tips in these episodes, I have a path to take to get where I want to be." Thank you so much for leaving that review and letting us know that this content is valuable for you. It means so much to us when you leave comments on YouTube or when you rate and review the podcast over on Apple. So after this episode, take a minute to go over and do that step. And if you are ready to rock your YouTube channel and you want to grow this year, then you need to sign up for our 7-day free YouTube Influence Challenge. This is a huge event that we throw a few times a year here at Think, where you can join us for 7 days for free, where we walk through our proprietary process of how to get views and subscribers and grow a highly profitable and highly influential YouTube channel. So you want to make sure that you register for that class at tubeinfluence.com. Once you've registered, you're going to join our free group where you'll get instant access to the entire community of people just like you ready to grow their channel. We go live every single day for those 7 days, teaching you the exact process that we teach inside of our Signature Academy, Video Ranking Academy. So make sure you sign up at tubeinfluence.com markdangerfield.com for our next 7-day free YouTube Influence Challenge. Well, I am excited. If you are a reader like me, then you want to make sure that you are here next Tuesday for our next episode. We're going to be sharing with you the 5 books that every YouTuber needs to read. Sean, myself, and the Think team are a group of learners. We love reading books, and we've distilled this down to 5 books that you should be reading this year. These books are going to help you grow your channel, going to help you with your communication, and ultimately help you become a better leader. So make sure you are here next Tuesday when the podcast goes live to learn the 5 books that we recommend that you read this year. Thanks so much for watching or listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye.
Love and Hyperbole is a really, really special album to me. I knew immediately that I wanted this beautiful world to accompany it, and now thanks to Lenovo and Intel, we're able to make that happen visually for everybody. And I'm really excited to let you guys in on this process of how we create this album trailer.
In my opinion, the most important thing right now is having nothing break our creative flow. It's so important that we have all-day battery life thanks to the Intel Core Ultra processor. I'm personally on my Lenovo Yoga. It's really important that we hit the ground running because we need a treatment by the end of the day.
Big Tropic Bowl fan, are we? Lucky you, Acai just got an upgrade at Tropical Smoothie Cafe. 2 words, Nutella drizzle. Trust me, that hazelnut berry combo. Chef's kiss. And the exotic new dragon fruit bowl is as tropical as it gets. Topped with mango, goji berries, and fresh pineapple. Need I say more? Dive spoon first into our refreshing new Tropic Bowl flavors at Tropical Smoothie Cafe. You're on Tropic time now.
Lifelong leaders are lifelong learners, and if you want to win on YouTube this year, it's important to keep learning and leveling up, whether it's with an audiobook or actually grabbing a physical book with a cup of coffee sitting on your couch. We are going to be revealing to you the 5 best books that every YouTuber needs to read this year. My name is Heather Torres, and I am the host of the Think Marketing podcast. And if you're new here, welcome. We release a brand new episode every single Tuesday. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you're consuming this content from so you can be notified when a new podcast drops on Tuesday. Now, books are my love language. I love reading books, and it took a while to get to 5 books that you should be reading this year if you want to start a YouTube channel. Now, we're not going to be covering necessarily business-minded or entrepreneurship or leadership. These are for you, the YouTube creator who wants to learn and grow your YouTube channel this year. These 5 books have been life-changing to myself, to Sean Cannell, and to the entire Think Media team. So you're going to want to lean in, you're going to want to listen up, because these 5 books could change your life. Let's get into today's featured conversation. Sean, I am excited to go through these books. I love all these books, and as a YouTube creator myself, these books have helped me grow a channel, grow an influence, and I'm excited for people to read them this year. It was hard for you to pick these 5 books to be for YouTube creators specifically. So we're not really talking about leadership development or business or entrepreneurship. This is truly for YouTube creators, and I think it's important to distinguish that because a YouTube creator is kind of in both worlds, right? They need to be creative, but they also need to apply certain principles to what they are creating. So let's go ahead and get into book number 1, Hook Point. Why did you choose this book?
Yes, Hook Point by Brendan Kane, and this is a newer book, and this is an absolutely must read for anybody that's creating content. And so the average person right now is exposed to between 4,000 to 10,000 marketing messages per day. The book reveals that over 60 billion social media messages are sent between people, posted, DMs, a day. So the punchline is there's more noise than ever before. Additionally, algorithms are making it harder for people to see our content. Every social media platform started with, if you got a bunch of Facebook likes and you posted, most of those people would see it. Even YouTube, if you got a bunch of YouTube subscribers and you posted, most of your subscribers would see it. As there's more noise on social media, if your video, your content doesn't hook the viewer, get engagement, capture attention, as the title says, how to stand out in a 3-second world. That's so short, but in a 3-second world, then the algorithm will bury your content. So really that book is about mastering the art of grabbing attention in the first 3 seconds. And it breaks down a framework. It goes very in depth. You know, I'll make some recommendations with each of these books as well. I love audiobooks. I love ebooks. I actually would recommend at least ebook, if not a physical book of this one, because there's a lot to underline. There's a lot to strategize with. There's a lot of tactics, so you kind of have it with you to sharpen your content. But his basic framework is that a hook point has a powerful attention-grabbing opening, which we teach on, but let's clarify, a hook point's way bigger than the opening 10 seconds of your video. It's actually the big idea. It's the concept itself. Will it stand out in that feed? Then your video also needs a good story. You might have an amazing opening, but then someone goes, okay, cool, that was impressive, and then they leave after that. So you want to open up conflict. You want to lead to a climax. You want tension created, different things. The art of great storytelling, even if it's just a practical video, leave a reason for people wanting to watch. And then you also want authenticity. That's the third kind of big rocks around a hook point, meaning clickbait is really when you're being inauthentic. You think about what's the craziest thing we could do just to get attention. But if it's not aligned with your values, who you are, then people will see that incongruency. So if you can find a synergy between who you really are as well as what will really get attention, and the book really breaks that down. So super highly recommended. If you are a YouTube content creator, you got to pick up a copy of Hook Point.
Yeah, and the 3-second world, that is such, I mean, that's where we are now, right? Is that idea of only really having to understand how to do that quickly. And I love how this book, you're right, it is the big concept. We want to apply this to YouTube. That's why these are for YouTube creators, but this is for your overall messaging that you're trying to do. And we're going to leave all of these books in the show notes below, so you can have kind of a recommendation of what that looks like. So we'll leave that in the YouTube description and down below in the show notes. Number two is written by one of your good friends, Pat Flynn, and that is Superfans. Why did you choose Superfans? In no particular order, by the way. This is just what I'm reading off of our notes.
Yeah. So Superfans by Pat Flynn, an absolutely incredible entrepreneur, content creator, and such a world-class person as far as a father in life. And Pat was one of our Growth Video Live speakers. Superfans is a must-read book. Here's the subtitle: The Easy Way to Stand Out, Grow Your Tribe, and Build a Successful Business. And somewhat inspired from Kevin Kelly's article years ago called 1,000 True Fans. In this case, 1,000 True Superfans. And that the secret to going full-time on YouTube, the secret to building the business, the life that you want with YouTube is not necessarily 1 million subscribers or even 100,000, but potentially 1,000 superfans. And the math around that is no matter how the money comes, whether it's YouTube ads, affiliate marketing, let's say you sell a $100 product, if you did, and you had 1,000 superfans that actually purchased that product, that would be $100,000 a year. And so you might have 10,000 subscribers, but if you've got 1,000 superfans, you potentially could build a highly profitable business. And 100,000 is pretty remarkable. Like, again, if you only had a portion of that, if you sold a $25 product to 1,000 superfans, that's $25,000 in a year. So that's the math. But the powerful thing about this book is Pat is just one of the most genuine guys who loves his community, and he shares really practical things you could do to engage your community more, to answer their questions, to DM people, to kind of surprise and wow people, to think about depth and not just width. I think that mistake a lot of us make, Heather, I'm guilty of it too, is social media, YouTube, we want width. How big can my subscriber number be? How can I get that silver play button, that gold play button, which is potentially a width number because not all 100,000 of those subscribers with the silver play button are engaged. how much more powerful if you have depth, real community, real intimacy, real relationships. And I think that should be encouraging because the world right now, especially kind of a Western culture, sort of just promotes like size is all that matters, growth is all that matters, the biggest number possible is all that matters, and that's not true. I think that actually substance over size as well, and Superfans really gives some very practical tactics. Every single one of these books is amazing, but that is an absolute good investment. It's going to give you a ton of ideas to help build a stronger community this year on YouTube.
Yeah, and I read this one over a weekend, so it's full of a lot, but it's such a great read also, and just a great reminder to remember that we're creating content for other people. We are selfishly creating it because we want to grow a business, but the impact that your content can have on someone and how to actually foster online relationships. I think Pat is really great at doing the online and the offline relationship building, and that's such a huge part of growing a YouTube channel. We don't grow our channels by ourselves. We grow our channels with the support of people. And so I love that Pat really dove into the idea of how do you connect on a deeper level with people. All right, number 3 is from one of the great authors, I think, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to understanding community, which is such a big part of YouTube and being a YouTube creator. You chose the book called Tribes. Why did we choose Tribes?
Yeah, so Tribes by Seth Godin, a famous book, and if you haven't heard about it, definitely worth your time. I would recommend the last couple, Superfans and Tribes. They might even be great audiobooks, to check out as well, because you're getting concepts, you're kind of getting strategies, something you can listen to on a walk, and it's going to spark your mind, give you ideas. Here's the definition of a tribe. It's just a group of people with a shared interests and a way to communicate. And I think the unlock of the book Tribes for why this matters on YouTube is a lot of people are trying to build kind of a personal brand. They're trying to vlog and share just their ideas about a bunch of random things, and they struggle. They're not growing. They're not getting the impact that they want. And there's not necessarily a cultural or tribe anchor that they're connecting to, which could be the key to them growing faster. Let me explain. There was an event, a conference called Walker Stalker Con that was built around just giving people from The Walking Dead that love The Walking Dead a chance to come together, talk about The Walking Dead, booths, people doing makeup. They actually got the actors to eventually come. So what do they have? They had a shared interest, and they gave them a way to connect and communicate, and a conference that was annual that has grown over the years. So Walker Stalker Con became a massively profitable business around a shared interest that the people who started the conference did not create. There was already people into The Walking Dead. They just rallied around it. When I think about starting a YouTube channel, I think Seth James, he's got a running channel. He didn't invent running. Lots of people in the world love running, obviously, but I watch him all the time because he reviews running shoes. He talks about how to train more. So I already have a shared interest, running, the way to communicate, YouTube, and yet he planted his flag in an actual proven community of people. That's what Seth Godin talks about as far as a tribe. If you think about faith persuasions, Christianity, it's a shared interest. A way to communicate is a local church, but now you give people a way to connect online, private Facebook group that goes maybe connected to your YouTube channel. And now the shared interest, maybe if it's, let's say, Christian fitness, you're layering interests, and this is a group of people who want to get healthier, but also believe that physical training is only of some value. Let's also strengthen our spirit. They kind of have a similar mindset, and so it's a huge, powerful book that kind of unlocks the idea that your goal as a YouTube creator is to stand up and be a leader in a tribe that already exists, as opposed to trying to create one from scratch. Can you create one from scratch? If you think you can, you may be able to, or you have a lot of audacity, and good luck with that. Because again, not a lot of people are going to start a movement like Christianity or a viral show like The Walking Dead, or a massively popular video game movement like Cyberpunk 2077. It's hard to potentially create a massive tribe. The power for most of us, we could create a full-time income by beginning to communicate inside of a pre-existing tribe. So I think the question people could ask, what is some of your hobbies? What are some of your passions? What are the things? Homeschool, like your channel, is a group of people that have a shared interest. But some of the ways that you can accelerate a tribe is giving people a way to communicate. Now you're giving them the homeschool house to connect with you, but not just you, each other. We have our YouTube Influence Challenge coming up. It's people who have a shared passion for online video, a shared passion for YouTube, that want to figure out how to build a full-time living around their YouTube influence or grow their business with YouTube. Shared interest is YouTube. The way to communicate at such a deeper level is in the private Facebook group that we create for the YouTube Influence Challenge. That's at another level of depth, even beyond just watching like a Think Media video or a Think Marketing podcast episode, kind of in more one-way communicate. We're on there answering questions. That is a good example of tribes. And the book is still definitely, there's a lot of value that we just kind of pulled out of the book there. It's definitely still worth checking out because Seth Godin gives you a bunch of tools for really being a better tribe leader, maybe identifying a tribe that you could rise up and lead and contribute to. Because chances are, think about how much opportunity there is. There's lots of different people in the homeschool space. It's a massive community. There's lots of leaders, lots of voices, and still room for many more. The difference between just creating random YouTube content and planting your flag in a proven tribe could be the difference between success and failure for your YouTube dreams.
Yeah, and Tribes was actually my introduction to Seth as an author, and I went down the rabbit hole. He really goes so deep, but it's such a good introduction to even the idea of joining that community. So I love how you said that this would be good for audio, because it is. It really is one of those that sparks ideas for how you can contribute to an existing tribe and put your own stamp on the type of content that you're doing. Really great book to get started with. The next one is Primal Branding. Now, branding on YouTube is so important. I think it's really pivotal. It's what makes you stand out. It gives you the differentiating factor. It helps people to understand what you're about, and it helps to communicate without having to communicate. So let's talk about primal branding.
Yeah, and I think we should maybe do this in its own episode, so I'll go rapid fire through it. So Patrick Hanlon wrote Primal Branding. It's become a famous book in the YouTube community because it specifically taps into why influencers, kind of viral YouTube channels, it's the 7 primal codes that make their YouTube channel really stick and really work and really make an impact. And here's what they are. Number 1, story. Number 2, create. Number 3, icons. Number 4, rituals. Number 5, language. Number 6, anti-believers. And number 7, a leader. And the goal is that if you have 1 or 2 of these, you actually could be doing pretty well. If you have all 7, you could be doing phenomenal. These are actually something that we need to revisit or actually visit for the first time with the Think Media team. I think you and I talked about these 2015, 2016, and we probably haven't talked about them since our team has grown. But even if you've been through the book, pull it off your shelf, read it again, because these primal codes are these huge pillars that could be the key to scaling your brand or really hitting a tipping point. So really quickly, story, your brand needs to have a story or a background. The best brands have a story. A lot of our story, it started with me as a personal brand, was how I'm a college dropout, small town kid, but also when my wife almost died, inspiring me to step up as a leader, to really figure out how to provide for my family, to pay for medical bills, to figure out, and it gave me reasons come first, results come second, a drive. So a lot of times we share our story. Then we even have stories, because the genesis of Think Media in the Heather Torres era and the different eras. So there's different stories you share, but your brand needs to have a story more than just why are you creating content? Like, what's the background? What's the genesis of this? Number 2, a creed. If this tells what you believe and how you might be different or similar to belief systems, other belief systems out there. And so this is even nuances like us saying we want to help 10,000 purpose-driven people create a full-time living, making a difference in the world with YouTube and online video. When we say purpose-driven, for us, it's coming from family, ethics, values, not just people who want to make money on YouTube, but they really want to make a big difference. Just a tweak that's maybe different than some of the others out there, and we're always trying to refine that. The icons or the visuals, we could probably do better at this. This is your logos, your branding visuals. You think about the Nike swoosh. You think about the Tesla T. You think about some icons that become the visuals associated with a movement or a brand. Supreme. You think about some of the really iconic logos. Number 4 is the rituals. And rituals, I think, is like our last episode. it's not just our own rituals, but it's getting people to do rituals like we need you creating that significant video post a week. And here's a checklist for creating that video post a week. We call it now the Tuesday Ritual, the Think Marketing Podcast. Come on, Tuesday Ritual. Make sure you listen to the Think Marketing Podcast every single Tuesday because we're coming at you. And so thinking about rituals, some of the most powerful movements have rituals. When you actually get, this is why you take something like Christianity, when it goes beyond just being talked to at church on a weekend, but to when you begin to pray and read your Bible and actually have a vibrant relationship with God throughout the week. That actually, think about, and everybody's doing that. Everyone in the movement is a part of rituals. Language, common words you say, or things that you say. We want to do an episode on Think Marketing Podcast of even helping people with marketing language, CPC, CPM. That's like language and marketing, but even your insider language. It could be things like we say rise or grind at our conference. You know, over the years, we picked up these phrases. You say your race, your pace. There's different things that maybe originated with us, but it becomes kind of these language things that happen in our culture. Anti-believers, people are afraid of this one. Who's your enemy? Mm-hmm. It's okay to have non-believers, like, because when you really stand for something, there's going to probably be somebody who disagrees with you. That's a good thing. Many are afraid to go there. That's part of the primal code. And then a leader. Who is the leader? Somebody steps up and leads. And if you think about any, especially YouTube channel, there's typically a person, even if it is a movement and a community of leaders, that was sort of that founding member. And for most YouTube creators, it's that one influencer, that one person. And it's definitely a must-read book. You got a lot of value out of that list right there, but dialing in each of those. And if you feel overwhelmed, I remember when I first heard them, it was kind of like, oh shoot. First of all, it's like a spotlight on how much clarity I don't have necessarily in my brand, in my business, in my YouTube channel. But you just tweak these over the years. You start kind of saturating yourself in the power of these brand elements. And remember, you just have a couple of these dialed, and it could change everything, and you could start having some success. You dial in all 7, and your brand can really hit the scale that maybe many of us want. Virality, multiple subscribers, 100,000, 1 million subscribers, because you've really hit all 7 of the primal codes.
So good. And what I love so much about these 5 books, and we'll get to the last one, is that these are ones that you can revisit over and over. There are some books that you read it and you're like, that was good, but these 5 books, I truly believe these, like you said, we do need to go over these things again with the Think team, and this would be such a great opportunity for our community to lean in and say, no, I'm going to commit to doing some learning. I'm going to commit to upping my branding and understanding my fans, and really getting into more about how you can grow your YouTube channel. Number 5, though, Sean, I will have to say was probably my most favorite book on the list. I'm not going to give you too much props, but understanding these 7 C's of YouTube success and really being the #1 bestseller and becoming the best book on YouTube in the world, it's a must read for anyone who wants to become a YouTube creator. I'm setting you up really to be so humble on this next book. It's actually written by you and your co-founder of Video Influencers, Benji Travis. It is the book YouTube Secrets. Why should they read YouTube Secrets?
Yeah, I appreciate that. And YouTube Secrets, we've been humbled and blessed that it actually is the #1 best-selling YouTube strategy book in the world. And even this year, I think it's a must-pick-up book. You can grab the audiobook for free. I think it's tubesecretsaudio.com. Of course, you can also get the book on Amazon. And what's amazing is the book continues to, I think we're over 50,000 copies sold. It still actually sells almost 1,000 or 2,000 a month. And that's for good reason, because we work so dang hard on it. We put 4 years of our life into it, over 100 interviews, distilling the principles down, not just into, I think people wonder, well, are the tactics current? Are the tactics, YouTube's changing? Well, yeah, but the 7 C's of YouTube success is an unbreakable framework. Like, the 7 C's of YouTube success are the elements that are going to be true on YouTube in 2023 and 2026 and 2030, if YouTube's still around 10 years from now, and I think it will be. And so YouTube Secrets, I think, as a refresher, I know, and I want to thank a lot of people in our community. They've probably already read it. They probably already have it. It's probably a good time to listen to it again. I think all 5 of these books, read it, listen to it again. I don't know if you do a book a week or even a book a month. If you want this year to be remarkable, then do a book a month or do a book a week. Journal, make your game plan specifically to get success on YouTube. These 5 books are really going to put some wind in your sails, give you some fresh tactics, fresh reminders. We never catch every nuance out of a book, so it will bring even new ideas. But then again, repetition is the father of learning and the mother of mastery. Just like you said, there's been times where I will pick up a book. I'm re-going through the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, and man, every time I'm like, I feel like I've never read this before. I've read it multiple times. So repetition is so powerful. It helps, bring clarity to our mind, fresh strategies to our game plan. And we want people to win on YouTube this year. And I think that these 5 books are absolutely a great investment to help people achieve their goals on YouTube.
Yeah, and I just want to say that, for me, it's learning through reading has been something that has really opened my eyes to the possibilities. And I think sometimes if you are jumping into something new, like YouTube, and it does feel really overwhelming, being able to take one of these books, just maybe 1 book a month or 1 book every couple weeks, and really take the time to go through it and digest what you're learning, I think it allows you to see the long game of what you're creating, right? It starts with the YouTube channel, it starts with that first video, but it's going to eventually grow into the brand that you're going to build. And I just want to encourage you that think podcast listener, that if getting a book and reading it is something maybe new to you, I know there's a huge study that says that most people don't actually read a book after high school, and a large percentage of people never read a book after college, and that's so disheartening to me as a homeschool mom. But I want to just encourage you that whether you pick up all 5 of these books or whether you just choose one for this entire year, that it is your race, your pace, and that even though you might look at a bookshelf like Sean's, and we're gonna have other book lists because you're a massive reader, you read past me 5 times over the books that you're going through, but even if you just pick up one, and even if this is the first time you've picked up a book since high school, I just want to encourage you to lean in to learning, because as you are connected with us here at Think, and as you grow your YouTube channel, that I think you're going to see that we are a group of learners, and we cannot get enough of the information that's inside of these books. So I can't wait for future episodes where you can actually learn more of our book lists and the things that we recommend. But these 5 books, Think Marketing Podcast, this is your challenge for this year. Grab these books, grab some sticky notes or a highlighter or a pen, grab a good cup of coffee, set some time aside, and really start to dive into the learning that can happen from these books.
And tag us. Like if you pick up a copy of YouTube Secrets or these books end up on your shelf, at Miss Heather Torres, at Sean Cannell on Instagram, on your stories. Let us know. Let us know what books are you reading? Tag us, DM us, send those to us, because we love the knowledge share. But it's kind of like for book lovers, they love taking books on. I'm that same person. I got them on my Instagram stories. I got them in my Instagram feed. And so share on social media. If you pick any of these up, tag the author, tag us, and we'd love to also see what you're reading and what some of your favorite books are for specifically growing on YouTube. Post those in the comments, and we can't wait to hear from you.
Introducing 2 new Baja Chipotle subs featuring our world-famous Baja Chipotle sauce. Listen, that's the Baja Chipotle talking. Well, it's actually me talking, but you know what I mean. Find your fresh with the new Baja Chipotle collection at Subway.
One of these people uses the new Colgate Total Active Prevention System. It's 15 times more effective at fighting the root cause of many oral health problems. As for the other guy,
Sarah, good luck.
be dentist ready with Colgate Total.
Well, those were the 5 books for you to get started reading this year. And again, we're going to list them down in the show notes below if you're listening right now on Apple or Spotify, or they're in the YouTube description if you're watching this video on YouTube. If you got value out of this video, make sure you hit that like button on YouTube. And if you've not yet rated or reviewed the podcast over on Apple, it would mean the world to me if you would go there after listening and rate and review today's podcast. This lets Apple know that this is a great podcast and other people just like you should be listening to it. So make sure you go over, rate and review, and take a screenshot. Share it on social media. Tag myself, Miss Heather Torres, and Sean Cannell at Sean Cannell, rhymes with channel, over on Instagram so we can see your favorite episode so far. And when you rate or review the podcast and you leave your review, we get to read it on the podcast. And today's review comes from Reese13. Reese says, "This is so helpful. A way better way to spend your time than scrolling through social media. This also is critical to the well-being of your YouTube channel, along with Think Media's YouTube channel." Thanks, Reese, for leaving that review. And I love being able to go through the comment section of YouTube, to be able to comment back to you, and to be able to read these reviews on Apple. So make sure you're part of the community and join us in the reviews and let us know what your favorite episode has been, maybe some testimonial, meaning how you've grown since you started listening to us, or future topics that you would like us to cover. I would love to read what you have to say in the comments or on the reviews. And this episode is brought to you by our YouTube Influence Challenge. It's our 7-day free challenge where you, the YouTube creator, can join thousands of other creators online for free and learn our 7-step system, our 7-step formula to growing your YouTube channel, getting views, getting subscribers, and building a high impact and a high profit YouTube channel this year. This 7-day challenge takes place online, so you have to register for it. You can go to tubeinfluence.com right now to get registered for that 7-day challenge. And don't worry, if you can't show up every day of the challenge, you have access to the recordings while the challenge is still going. So make sure you register, mark it on your calendar, and show up for the 7-day challenge. We also give away a few cool pieces of gear every single challenge. So you're going to want to make sure to enter to win some really cool gear this year. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I want to thank you for being a part of today's community, of this Think community, and for being on the podcast today. Go grab one of these books. I recommend that you take the time to read one of these books or all 5 of these books this year. Let me know on social media which one you picked up, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Bye.
Hello, handsome. And hello, random chair. Clean up with Apple Intelligence means goodbye chair. iPhone 16e. Latest iPhone, greatest price.
Love oversaturated markets because that tells you there's a huge opportunity. And your goal is, well, how do you separate yourself from the crowd? And that's why I spent the past 2 years putting this information into the Hook Point book. But for me, from my perspective, is mastering the art of the thumbnail and headline. That's the first place that I start. Now, obviously, does the content have to back it up and be good? Yes. But if you can't master the way to get somebody to click or to pay attention out of and I don't know how many are on the right-hand side for suggested video, whether it's 5 or 10, if you can't stack up against that and contextualize your headline and thumbnail in such a way where the consumer or the viewer says, I have to click on this, I have to see what this is about, it's going to be an even tougher battle.
Welcome to the Think Marketing Podcast, where we help you grow your influence with YouTube and then take that influence and turn it into a high impact and high profit online business. My name is Heather Torres, and I'm excited that you're here. If you're new here, consider subscribing wherever you're consuming this content. We bring you a brand new episode every single Tuesday. We call it #Tuesday Ritual, and we'd love for you to be a part of our community here. Well, today's conversation is actually part of our series all about the books you need to be reading this year. We already did the podcast of the 5 books every content creator and YouTuber should read this year. And I'm excited because Sean is going to be interviewing one of the authors of one of those books. Now, we are going in depth all about hook points. And you might be wondering, hook points, what is that and why is it important as a content creator? Well, Sean will be sitting down with the author, interviewing him all about how this applies to you as a content creator so that you can grab attention, get views, and grow your channel. Well, let's dive dive into today's featured conversation.
Welcome back to the Think Marketing Podcast. Sean Cannell here, and I'm so fired up because today I've got the author of Hook Point, Brendan Kane, joining the show. This is one of my top recommended books of 2020. I think it's a must-read book for all entrepreneurs, business owners, and especially content creators and YouTube creators going into 2021. Brendan, how's it going?
It's going awesome. Thanks for having me, Sean. It's a pleasure to connect with you and everybody that's listening and watching this.
For sure. Thanks so much for jumping on the podcast. And I'm excited for the value today. You know, we teach all the time that you got to get people's attention before they can even watch your content. You have to have a powerful title. You have to have a powerful thumbnail. You have to have a powerful opening to your video. And I'm excited for you to break down some strategies from your book, Hook Point. And of course, we'll link it up in the show notes and description. And this is a must pick up book. But before we dive into it, like, what are kind of the big picture challenges that business owners, entrepreneurs, and creators are facing going into 2021? And basically why this book and why now?
Yeah, great question. So as you know, Sean, better than anybody, the world has completely changed and it's completely shifted. The world that we live in today looks like that there's over 60 billion messages sent out on digital platforms each day between email, push notifications, social media content. It's a very noisy and oversaturated world. And because of that, the world that we live in today, you're no longer competing against your direct competition. You're competing against everybody. Like it or not, you're competing against Netflix. You're competing against Kevin Hart, The Rock, Kim Kardashian, all of these people. So as we go into 2021, you've got to look at content from that perspective. Is how can my content stack up or win that attention against every other piece that's being published? And that's where a hook point comes in. We talk a lot about pattern interruption. Is if you're on YouTube or Instagram or any of these social platforms and they just watch Kevin Hart tell a joke, or they watch Joe Rogan's podcast, or they watch Kim Kardashian talk about fashion, and then your content's there. How are you going to get somebody to stop? Just stop and say, listen, I want to dig in further. I want to see what this is all about.
That's crazy. It feels a little bit overwhelming. And you even put it in the subtitle, how to stand out in a 3-second world. Like, how do we get people to stop? And where'd you come up with 3 seconds from?
Yeah, so I came up with 3 seconds based upon when a view is counted. So if you remember way back in the day, I don't even remember how long ago, must be like 6 or 7 years ago, but on the Facebook advertising platform, advertisers used to get charged at the 1 second mark. And advertisers were up in arms about it because they're like, well, that shows no intent. It's like people could scroll past, not even see any part of the video, and you're still counting it as a view. So everybody really shifted to this concept of registering a view at least 3 seconds. So that's where we came up with this 3 second mark. And a lot of the metrics that we look at, specifically when we're focusing on going viral on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or LinkedIn, we look at the ratio between views to reach. Because again, reach doesn't necessarily mean you're generating a view. So we look at that ratio on those platforms, and we're aiming for a bare minimum of 30%. 40% is our target goal, and anything over 40%, the algorithms are going to love you and give you more reach. Now, on YouTube, as you know, Sean, it's different. You're going after that click-through. So you're looking at that click-through percentage, and that counts as, are you capturing somebody in less than 3 seconds where it correlates to that click on your thumbnail and headline for suggested videos? And if it doesn't generate that click, obviously you're not getting anybody into the videos, and the algorithms are not going to favor it and give you more reach and distribution.
And for somebody that lots of, if they listen to a marketing podcast, if they watch different people teaching on how to break through on social media, the word algorithms is thrown around all the time.
Yeah.
If you were going to try to break down algorithms simply to how they work today as we know it in kind of layman's term, so that we can be best positioned to manipulate or win with the algorithms, how would you explain it?
Yeah, and that's a great point, because there's so much misconception, there's so much misinformation about it. The way that I treat and look at algorithms is they just have a job. And you got to understand what that job is to understand how to play to it. So the algorithm's job is to keep people on the platform as long as possible, because that's how these platforms make money. So what the algorithm's there to do is to prioritize and find the content that is going to keep each individual user on the platforms longer. So let's imagine that we open up YouTube. There's probably 1,000 videos it could seed to you based upon your search, what you searched before, based upon the channels you've subscribed to, based upon the videos that you watched previously. So with all of that content, it could potentially seed to this specific individual. Well, it's got to prioritize. What are the top 10, 15 pieces of content that I believe is going to keep this specific user on the platform longer? So when we design content for the algorithms, it comes down to two things. It's very simple, two things. One, do you get somebody to stop? On Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, do you get somebody to stop the scroll and that view to reach ratio I talked about? On YouTube, does it generate the click? And then once we have the attention, it goes to the second thing, is how long do you hold that attention for? If you can, one, get somebody to click or to stop the scroll, and two, hold their attention for a long period of time, the algorithms will love you and they'll give you massive reach and massive distribution. And that's really how content creators can go viral in the world that we live in today.
So powerful. And enter your book, Hook Point. So that's our goal. How do we get people to stop? And then how do we get people to stay? So what exactly is a hook point then? And what are kind of the basic elements?
Yeah, so a hook point has three core pillars to it. And at the highest level, a hook point is solving for this, is grabbing attention. So the first core pillar is that pattern interrupt. How do we get somebody to just stop and pay attention to us? It's not about expressing everything that we're about. It's just how do we grab that attention in that first 1 to 3 seconds so that we have the right to earn that click. We have that right to stop that scroll, which goes into the second core pillar, what is the story that you're going to tell? Now that you have the attention, how are you going to hold it? Now, this is a big difference. Some people may be saying, well, is this clickbait? Well, the big difference between clickbait is the story typically doesn't match up to the way that you grabbed that attention. So that's the second core pillar. What is the story? How long can we hold that attention for? And then the third core pillar is, do people believe what we're saying? Do they trust it? So if we look at those three core pillars together, without that pattern interruption, without that getting them to stop, you never get to the story. If you get people to stop and click, but your story or content's not good and you don't retain it, it falls apart. Now, if you grab attention and you tell a compelling story, but people don't believe it, they don't trust it, then it falls apart. So all three of these have to play together in order to create a successful hook point and really stand out in today's world.
And what's one of your favorite illustrations or a story that illustrates a well-executed hook point?
Well, there's so many. I mean, I'll give you an example of, we talk about subverting expectations in the book. So we did a video on social in all caps that said, warning, safety is dangerous. So what we did is we flipped that misconception on the head to grab people's attention. Now, if we want to talk about the YouTube ecosystem, some of the best content creators are masters at hook points. Mr. Beast, by far one of the smartest guys in terms of those hook points. Yes Theory, another great channel that focuses on a topic of seeking discomfort, but they do it in such a way with hooks and compelling ways to bring people into the attention. We want to talk about the biggest podcasts in the world, Joe Rogan. You look at his clips channel. They are masters at finding hooks within the interviews that they do.
So powerful. And for somebody that's like, okay, so I get the hook point and I'm going to pick up the book so I can dive deeper into the elements and master these. But there's something that as business owners and content creators, we also eventually will come across of like things we need. What is our USP if you're a business owner? What's your unique selling position? Then also like, what's your tagline? Like I say, I help people build their influence with YouTube. And then like, how are you different in the market? Or then also what's your mission? Like the mission of our company is to help 10,000 purpose-driven people create a full-time living, doing what they love while making a difference in the world with YouTube. A little bit longer. And it took longer than 3 seconds to say that. And so you have like these different pieces. Where do each of these pieces kind of fall in place, and how are they different, or are they different than the hook point?
Yeah, so sometimes your mission statement or your tagline or your USP can be hook points. Now, most of the time that's not the case. But I'll give you an example is like Instacart, groceries delivered in less than an hour. That is their USP, but it is also their hook point. But most of the time, it's not falling into that. I really look at the hook point as a way to get people into your brand, get them into your tagline, get them into your mission statement. And companies, content creators, brands, they can all have multiple hook points into their service. So to give you an example of that, you look at Netflix, and Netflix today invests over $17 billion in content every single year. Why? Because each one of those pieces of content is a hook point into their brand, into their subscription. And the same goes for a content creator, a YouTube content creator, and the brand that you built, Sean, so amazingly, is each one of your videos serves as a hook point into your ecosystem where they can dive deeper into your tagline or your mission statement. And I think people oftentimes get that mixed up, is there can be multiple hooks into your brand, and then you get them into those other elements.
Yeah, and to me that sounds, in a way, the way I've been thinking about Hook Point, especially loving the book, just devouring it, marking every page, sharing it with our team, having them read it, and again, recommend it's in our top 5 books to read this year to grow on YouTube. And I really feel like it's a critical tool, especially if you want to crack through on YouTube. But it's just kind of a modern skill set. I feel like if you're going to be a modern entrepreneur, a modern small business owner, you're trying to get attention, you're trying to stand out, you're trying to get noticed. And it kind of reminds me a lot about copywriting, like writing persuasive marketing copy. Like, what's the point of the email subject line? Just to get someone to open the email. What's the point of the first word? To get someone to read the second word. What's the point of the second word? Just to get someone to read the third word. And the mistake is that, well, the point of the first word or the email subject line is to get somebody to read the whole email. You jump too far ahead there. You actually just always need that next step. And so if you it's kind of like dating, right? If you spill everything all at once, it's like, yo, this is speed dating. I'm just meeting you. It's the first night. Like, let the story unfold. So am I correct to think that with a hook point, we're trying to get attention, maybe even with one sub-demo, sub-niche, sub-target audience, get their attention. Now we're communicating. The story can unfold a little more, but we don't need to unpack our whole life story in that moment, because ideally there's going to be a customer journey on our YouTube channel, and one video might just be the start of a relationship. How do you think about hook points in terms of people kind of building out their entire customer journey?
Yeah, I mean, you eloquently put it. It's earning the right to the next part of the conversation, and you hit it on the head. Is most people where they struggle or why they're failing is they jump too in. So it's like that analogy you said on the date, is they're proposing on the first date, or they're revealing all their deepest, darkest secrets or desires on that first date, where you have to essentially earn the right to bring that in. And also, you brought up some other good points, is when we look at hook points, it can be many different things. Like, it could be a visual in terms of an image with no words. It can be words. Sometimes when we're developing hook points for clients, it's a strategy. It's a business development strategy of how do we acquire the attention of this one CEO that if we close, it represents $50 million in deals? Or how do we grab the attention of this celebrity to endorse our product or to partner with us? Also, it can be a performance, like Prince EA, who wrote the forward for my first book, one of the top inspirational video creators on the planet. His hook is his performance. You know, he has one video on the environment that has over 110 million views. And he's not saying anything different than anybody else in the environmental space. It's the way that he contextualized the performance to hook people into him and into his brand. So many people think about a hook, oh, it's just copy. Yes, copy's one part of it, but it can be so many different elements. It could be your product yourself, like we talk about Elon Musk and Tesla and what he did with the Cybertruck and the way that he designed it to create this polarized reaction. Is it beautiful? Is it ugly? And he designed that on purpose as a hook into the Tesla brand and to generate record-setting pre-orders for that truck.
Man, powerful examples. Well, for a YouTube creator, especially going into 2021, it feels overwhelming. Is it too crowded? It's hard to stand out. Yet we see in our brand and with the students we help and the viewers and people in our community, there are those breakout videos. You're really always one breakout video, your one breakout piece of content. It may eventually be a couple. Sometimes a viral video doesn't change your life. It gives you kind of 15 minutes and then you still got to get back to the grind. But what kind of advice would you give for applying hook points specifically in a YouTube world? And for somebody that feels like it's an uphill battle, David versus Goliath, with how much content there is out there on YouTube, if somebody wanted to get their brand, their videos, their business noticed?
Yeah, is it an uphill battle? Yes. But to me, I love oversaturated markets because that tells you there's a huge opportunity. And your goal is, well, how do you separate yourself from the crowd? And that's why I spent the past 2 years putting this information into the Hook Point book. But for me, from my perspective, is mastering the art of the thumbnail and headline. That's the first place that I start. Now, obviously, does the content have to back it up and be good? Yes. But if you can't master the way to get somebody to click or to pay attention out of and I don't know how many are on the right-hand side for suggested video, whether it's 5 or 10, if you can't stack up against that and contextualize your headline and thumbnail in such a way where the consumer or the viewer says, I have to click on this, I have to see what this is about, it's going to be an even tougher battle. So where I would start is really study the masters, study Mr. Beast, Yes Theory, Brian Serhant, and Sean, study your channels as well and look at how they're positioning it. But when we look at channels, especially the high performers, we don't just look at the highest performing content on their channel, we look at their lowest performing as well. And we see, well, why is this the high performing working, but their lowest performing videos? What's the difference there? Was it in the thumbnail? Was it in the headline? Was it the way that they tried to build retention? And become a student of that first, because it will help you shape the rest of the content that you produce. It's like when I start with a book or I start crafting a keynote or even with the social video, I'm always starting with the hook of how I'm going to get somebody to stop. And then I design the content around that hook.
16E has a durable design and ceramic shield because the average person drops their phone 208 times a year. Make that 209 once they see the price. iPhone 16E, latest iPhone, greatest price.
What's for dinner?
Design the content around that hook.
Powerful. If we want to get into just maybe a few triggers, and the book is packed full of some like frameworks that could get us thinking. If it's like, okay, I want to get attention, I want to start with the hook. Yeah. What are some starting points for listeners? You mentioned one, which was subverting expectations. One of the examples I love in the book as well was you were promoting some kind of a meditation thing, and you were talking about meditation doesn't work. It was kind of going the opposite, but then when in fact you were like just coming from a different perspective. What are maybe just a handful, if I still feel like, okay, I want to have a more powerful hook next time you get me started, and then I'll kind of like put my niche into these frames of starting a hook point.
Absolutely. So let me complete that meditation example that you brought up, because I think it's a great one. Is if I was going to subvert expectations, and again, it's flipping it on its head, is I have to look at meditation. And this is a big problem that most people run into when they're creating content, is they're saying the same thing in the same way as everybody else. So meditation's been around for thousands of years. If you type it into Google, there's going to be billions of results. And people will say the same thing. Well, meditation is the key to success, or meditation is the key to stillness or contentment or happiness. The minute I see that, I already know what it's going to be about. Even if you have a unique spin on it, I just look at it, and from my micro attention mind here, I'm going to say, well, I already know what this is about, so I don't need to watch it. So subverting expectations is one great tool of doing that. So when we talk about meditation, I may create an ad or an organic piece of content that says at the top, or the thumbnail or headline, meditation is a scam. And then I'll dive in and say, hey, have you ever felt like meditation's a scam, or it just hasn't worked for you? Well, I feel your pain. Because when I first started meditating, I tried everything. People were telling me I had to sit down and clear my head. And every time I sat down, my mind would race. And I thought, am I doing something wrong? Is meditation broken? Or even worse, is meditation a scam? So today I want to show you 3 tips of me as a non-meditator that allowed me to meditate every day for the past 10 years. So let's dive in. So that's one tactic and tool. Another one that my friend Craig Clemens, one of the top copywriters in the world that sold over $1 billion of the products who we interviewed for the book, he says something really brilliant. He says, the minute that you can articulate somebody's greatest pain point, somebody's greatest anxiety, better than they can articulate it to themselves, you're going to win that trust. You're going to win that attention. So oftentimes when I'm working with clients, I ask them, what is keeping your core audience up at night? What is consciously, what are they thinking about? Not subconsciously what you think they need, but what is it that they want? And tap into that. Which leads to another aspect that I walk people through, is especially really brilliant and successful people struggle this, is you got to understand that there's a big difference between what people need and what people want. And most people are starting with what people need, and the viewer or the consumer is just not there yet, where you got to tap into the want. So to give you an example of that, with my first book, 1 Million Followers, How I Built a Massive Social Audience in 30 Days, I was tapping into what people want, which is followers. They want social growth. But what I know what they need to know how to test content. They need to understand a hook point. They need to understand strategic partnerships and alliances. They need to understand how to create shareable content. But if I led with that, it would fall flat. So oftentimes, if you're a content creator, really make that distinction for yourself. Am I promoting something that somebody really needs, that I believe they need? And are they even there yet? Or do I need to start with something that they want in life? And yes theory is a perfect example of that, of seeking discomfort. People are not walking around or searching Google saying, I'm seeking discomfort. So they wrap that contextually with great hooks, like taking a first Tinder date around the world. Becoming Superman with Wim Hof, the Iceman. I don't know if that's the exact title, but look at YouTube's or look at Yes Theory's YouTube channel, and you can see how they took something that they knew the world needs, but they don't lead with it. They wrap it in what people want, which is fun, feeling, facts, interesting things.
Man, brilliant. Make the smart move and pick up the book, Hook Point, literally one of my favorite books, especially in a YouTube creator type of world. And that is in the show notes, of course. And consume it, mark it up. There's so many powerful tactics. I want to thank you for writing the book. And, even the book itself was recommended to me on Amazon. The title, something that I've studied for years, grabbed me. The subtitle grabbed me, and we called it at Think Media, and I'm sure somebody else said it, the chocolate-covered carrot. It's the chocolate, man, I want to get the attention in 3 seconds. Well, the carrot is the vegetables, the nutrition. There's the thing I actually want is an easy way to get attention, but what I need is the strategy and the thought process and the A/B testing and all the, if you said how to do tedious A/B testing in order to build a business, you'd be like, okay, well, I'm going to pass on that one. So I love the fact of just how powerful the book is, and do want to recommend everyone to pick it up. Tell me about how people can connect with you, and you also have an agency. So what are you up to, and how are you helping people?
Yeah, so we're dedicating all of our time to helping people develop hook points. Like when we talk about thumbnails and headlines, we feel that everybody needs a thumbnail and headline for their business, for their brand, for their product, their service. And again, we've worked with startups, we've worked with billion-dollar corporations, we've worked with major celebrities. And the one thing, the recurring theme across them is they're all struggling in this new world that we live in to conceptualize what they do, what their genius is, in a very succinct and eye-catching way so they can win the first part of the conversation. So we created a consulting firm called Hookpoint. You can go to hookpoint.com, where we help people actually develop these hook points, help them stand out, whether it's online or offline. Yes, we have a lot of success with social media, but we will also have tremendous success doing B2B, doing closing major partnerships and strategic licensing deals and all of that. So we use our 15 years of experience in the space to help and guide the strategy of how to capitalize on attention to drive your business goals going forward. So people can check out hookpoint.com. And if you want to check out the Hookpoint book, I recommend going to book.hookpoint.com because you get a free masterclass with it. But people can reach out to me directly on Instagram at Brendan Kane, or email me at bkane@brendanjkane.com as well.
Brendan Kane, the book is Hookpoint. I appreciate you so much for coming on and adding so much value to the Think Marketing podcast today. And looking forward to connecting in the future and all the different work you're putting out into the world. I appreciate it and grateful for you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And thanks to everybody for listening to this. I really appreciate it.
Bush's other secret family recipe, Bush's chili beans.
Easing irritation and restoring smooth, healthy skin. Aquaphor Healing Ointment isn't just for one thing. It's Aquaphor so many things. From the #1 dermatologist recommended brand for dry, cracked skin, there's Before, and then there's Aquaphor.
Thank you so much for having me, and thanks to everybody for listening to this. I really appreciate it.
Well, I hope you are as fired up as I am to dive deeper into this book. I will admit, I'm only 4 chapters in, but I am marked it up like crazy. This book to me has been so impactful in just understanding how to grab attention. You know, when I was reviewing this interview with my son, he was telling me about the titles and the thumbnails that he likes to click on when he's on YouTube, and it just inspired me to know that it doesn't matter what type of content you're creating, this applies to you. And it is. It's all about attention. And remember, as a content creator, one of the most underutilized parts of your YouTube channel is probably your analytics. This is where you can dive into and you can see more and more about what is working on your channel. Rather than just throwing up the next video, why don't you take some time today, tomorrow, or this week to dive into what is working, what videos are blowing up and why. And I love how Brendan said what videos aren't working and why. I think it's important as content creators that we take the time to really assess, or we call it here at Think Media, zero base our content. You might be emotionally attached to the content you're creating and think that your art is wonderful, but if people are not connecting with it on the other side of their screens, if they're not clicking through, if they're not actually consuming your content, well, then I think it's good to take a sober evaluation of what really is working. Look at your competitors, look at other people on YouTube that you want to be like, that you want to emulate, and see what videos are working for them. I think that also, you know, YouTube takes time. This is a marathon, not a sprint. And when you just start out on YouTube, it may feel discouraging. Like, when's it going to break through? When am I going to pop off? When can I get to 100,000, 1 million subscribers? When does that happen? This is a process, and that process is a whole cyclical piece that we teach here at Think Media in our 7-step system. And if you've not already taken the masterclass where you learn the secrets to success on YouTube, then I actually recommend that be your next step after this podcast. Go over and register for our free YouTube class where we give you the tools that you need to be successful on YouTube this year. You can go to thinkmasterclass.com to register for that 1-hour free class where we're going to help you jumpstart your channel, where we're going to help you go deeper if you are already started, and where we're going to help give you some gasoline to the fire of the YouTube channel that you want to grow. And again, that's at thinkmasterclass.com. Also, if you have not already left a review on our podcast, that would mean the world to me for you to do that. All you need to do is go to Apple iTunes. If you're listening to it right now on the app, just leave a review, rate the podcast, and that helps other creators just like you discover this podcast. And I love to read the different reviews that are on the podcast, and this one comes from JJ Peller, and JJ says, amazingly high value. I'm obsessed. Hey, JJ, I'm obsessed too. I've listened to 5 episodes in the past 3 days. So much value. Thank you for sharing such amazing ideas and insights and strategies to help me restart fast with YouTube as I relaunch my channel in 2021. Joyfully, JJ Peller. JJ, I just want to encourage you to keep going. We've got a whole library of content here on the podcast, and then we also have the Think Media channel to help you grow with the tech and the gear and all the things that you need to make amazing videos. And thank you so much, JJ, for being a part of our community and for listening in, and I can't wait to see what happens to your channel in 2021. Well, thank you so much for being here for this episode. It means the world to us that you give us your time, and I can't wait for you to hear the next episode. But if you haven't, make sure you check out the masterclass at thinkmasterclass.com, and we'll catch you in the next episode. When we think about our biggest enemies to YouTube success, we might be thinking about the external circumstances like who's in office or the lockdowns or just kind of the economical pressures that are happening right now. Or it could be the rising competition with all of the creators on the platform. We've learned here at Think Media, with each of our team members creating content on their own platform, and with us working with thousands of students and content creators just like us, that it really comes down to ourselves holding us back. You know, it could be the thought of overcoming negative thinking, or being demotivated when you need to be making a video, or maybe it could be the toxic habits holding you back from creating your best content. So I'm excited for you to hear this episode, and I actually think this is going to be the most powerful podcast yet, where you're going to learn how to have your best year yet, and you're going to learn how to get more views and subscribers and build a freedom-based business on YouTube, because you're getting over the thing that's holding you back. My name is Heather Torres, and you're listening to the Think Marketing Podcast, the #1 podcast for helping you grow your influence on YouTube and turn that influence into a high impact and high profit online business. And if you're new to the podcast, I want to encourage you to subscribe wherever you're consuming this content from. We love to deliver content to you every single Tuesday, so make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an episode. Now, I want to warn you, we didn't actually know we were going to record this, but we did what we tell our students to do, and that was to just punch fear in the face and press record. So on parts of this episode, the audio is a little sketch, but I mean, come on, we just wanted to put this together there for you so that you can maybe get a behind the scenes look at how we are developing leaders and really what we're doing to have our best year ever. And stick around to the end of this episode where I'm going to be sharing with you how you can get an all access pass to the #1 YouTube marketing conference for content creators and business owners. All of that is happening at the end of this episode, so let's go ahead and get into the featured content.
iPhone 16e has the best battery life for an iPhone this size, so nothing's stopping you from getting the high score, except the stairs, benches, and rails. iPhone 16e, latest iPhone, greatest price.
The fact that this Reese's ad showed up at this exact moment proves that your devices are listening to your stomach.
Today, my assigned message is titled How to Have the Best Year Ever in 2021. And I believe God has really stirred my heart with a theme for the year. The official title of today is How to Have the Best Year Ever in 2021 by having your best year ever in 2021. How to have the best year ever in 2021 by having your best year ever in 2021. And I really feel like I have a theme for the year, and that is, and then things went silence. Then things went sideways, man. They were like, and that was. We're gonna murder it. Murder excuses. You order an axe. Sonia goes, "Did you order an axe on Amazon? And should I be afraid? And should I be afraid?" And I said, "There was no way if I was going to use it for that I would leave a trail like that. I'd pay cash at a local hardware store. Come on." Hey, I think that really the theme for 2021 is sharpen the axe.
Yeah.
Is sharpen the axe. Hey, Ecclesiastes 10:10. It says this. It says, "Using a dull axe requires great strength, so sharpen the blade." That's the value of wisdom. It helps you succeed. And Abraham Lincoln was credited for saying, but quote, disproved that he said it, but we're going to pretend he did, because it's still a powerful quote. And it's, "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe." Sharpening the axe. And when I think about this theme, I grew up on a farm. I grew up on 6 acres in Arlington, Washington. We had goats. We had multiple different dogs. They all died quite regularly. Cal's like, "Hey man, hit by cars, other dog fights, seriously, like neighbor dogs, like brawls, hitting dogs with shovels. Our dog getting, things on his neck and then bleeding out and dying, and a lot of. This is a dark day. This is produced by Blumhouse Productions. Deep cut reference right there. So I grew up on a farm though, and did a lot of farm things. I may not look it with his Metro and his Jordan 1s as I am right now, but I grew up on a farm, and I actually cut a lot of wood because we had a wood fire stove, and we would have to split kindling, split wood. My stepdad Phil Escalin taught me how to make kindling, and we would use different splitting mauls. We'd use different hatchets and different axes, just like this one. And you definitely learned that if you have a dull blade, it took so much more strength to maybe split an entire group of firewood. Right? It was it was 4 times the energy. You're sweating by the end of it. Whereas if you were to sharpen the blade and have a sharp blade, and skill with how you would cut, I'd watch my dad. He'd oftentimes grab a maul, not from here, but he'd grab it right here, and he'd just like pop off kindling like real quick like this. And you'd have these big, it depends on how dry the wood is, on how easy it is to split. And he would just be able to just bust through, all kinds of firewood. But again, if the blade was dull, it took so much more energy, it took so much more strength. But if you sharpen the blade, you were able to get more done in less time, with less stress, more peace of mind. And when I think about this very powerful verse in the Bible that applies so much to business and life, Ecclesiastes 10:10, using a dull axe requires great strength, so sharpen the blade. That's the value of wisdom. It helps you succeed. And Think Media, I believe, is going to have its best year ever this next year. And we've had our best year ever.
Yep.
But we're going to have our best year ever next year if you have your best year ever.
That's good.
And it starts with you. It starts with me. Let's all say it starts with me.
It starts with me.
Yeah, it starts with me. I know for a fact that we are called to lead thousands. I mean, we already lead millions, but I mean lead. Leadership is influence. Like really influence people, really change their lives. But the first person we have to lead is ourselves. Michael Jordan said this: talented players win games, but teamwork and intelligence win championships. This afternoon, or at the end of today, we'll do our second session, and we're going to talk about team. But the first part of that quote, we're going to talk about the players. That's you, that's me. Talented players win games. And there's something about sharpening your talent. What I love when you study the greats, like a Kobe, may he rest in power, or a Michael Jordan or a LeBron, you see how much energy they put into their practices, how even after winning the game, they'd be back in the gym the next day. They realize the power of the team, but they also realize the power of the player, and talented players win games. So we need to grow as players, and as player coaches, it starts with you. It starts with me. And Babe Ruth said this: yesterday's home runs don't win today's games.
Experience 12 weeks of the familiar freshness you love. Snuggle, the comfort of home.
A protein bar that tastes like Reese's? Dreams do come true. One Reese's Lovers Protein Bar.
Yep.
And here's one of our biggest vulnerabilities, friends. We had an epic year in 2020. My God, we're going to talk about some stats later on, but we did things we've never done before. We had challenges. We've put up 5 videos a week. We get like 250,000 views on our YouTube channel every 2 days. We are breaking all of our financial records. We've added to the team. We're having an incredible year. And we've had so many home runs this year, but yesterday's home runs don't win today's game. So here's just some questions. Do you think you could accomplish more this next year than you did last year? Do you think you could earn more money this next year than you did last year? Well, that's up to you, Sean. You control that. Well, yeah, but actually you control that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you make yourself so indispensable, so vital, if you double a department and you say, this is the campaign I want to try, this is the thing I want to do, this is what I think I could influence. Think Media's goal is to have no lid on your financial future.
Let's go.
Do you think you could earn more money this next year than you did last year? Some of you have side projects. Do you think you could earn more money this next year than you did last year? Do you think you can manage your time better this next year in 2021 than you did this year? Hey, how about this? Do you think it'd be possible to manage your emotions better this next year? Would it be possible for us as a team to get more done with less stress and in less time this next year? I think it would. But here's what I think is one of our biggest enemies. It's the dull axe mentality. Because at the end of 2020, you may be feeling great, you may be feeling fatigued, and you may go, Sean, I don't think so. I mean, 2020 was great, but I hit my max. I hit my limit. I hit the lid. So I can do that again, but I hit the lid. I can only split so much firewood. I can only actually produce so much. But what if we spent more time sharpening the axe, sharpening the blade, so that it took less strength to achieve the same results, if not more results? That's why I really think the theme this year is to sharpen the axe, because on an overarching goal, Sean, what are we going to do in 2021? A lot of the same stuff we did in 2020, almost entirely, because 2020 was a pioneering year. We didn't have Coffee with Candles show. Now we do. Let's refine it. Let's dial it in. We didn't have the Think Marketing Live show. Let's refine it. We actually didn't have the podcast. Let's refine it. Let's refine our workflows. We've never done a challenge. We're going to try to do a challenge a quarter this next year. Let's refine it. It was a stretch to be doing a video a week and then 2 videos a week. And it was like, oh my gosh, how could we do that? But could we do it with less stress, more margin, and more peace of mind, and actually get more done in less time this next year by simply sharpening the axe? The dull axe mentality tells us that my results are fixed because I'm getting what I'm getting and I have nothing left at the end of the day.
Good.
You know, as a runner, and one that was a hobby runner to a semi-hobby runner to now like a amateur hobbyist runner, I've been taking this thing kind of seriously, and at first I was just kind of haphazardly running on a treadmill in Irvine, California, back when we lived there, and then we moved to Vegas, and now we have the loop that is in Southern Highlands that I often run most mornings, and you might see me on Instagram stories. I'm on my way to just run the loop. That's about 2.5 miles, and I used to not even be able to run that entire loop, and I would go out and I would kind of jog for a while. I'd get super huffy and puffy. I'd kind of get sore. My heart rate would be all crazy, so I'd have to walk for a while, and then I would jog again and walk again. Years back, I remember I ran that loop with my friend Andy James, and I remember he was a pretty good runner, and I was like, dude, how? There was this one slightly incline part that it's just slightly, I mean, not even that, it's like just slightly inclined, and he was going up, and I was like, this hill's gonna kill me. Are we running up Everest? Like, what are we talking about, right? And now, over the years, I've been sharpening the axe, and I'll go out and just smash the 2.5 miles. I'm not even tired after. Like, my endurance is at such a foundation where 19.5 really fatigues me and I feel sore. But now it's like, it's actually in a way effortless, and I'm faster than I was, and it's now even fun, where before it wasn't even fun. It was stressed out, emotionally fried, heart rate crazy. To now I'm like, that's just because my endurance level, right? Because my strength level, and so we can accomplish, and sometimes feel dull axe thinking and fixed thinking is like, well, we're maxed out. My calendar's maxed out, my capacity's maxed out, and if we sharpen the axe, though, we could accomplish more than ever before. So in this first session, the way we're gonna have the best year ever in 2021 is by having your best year ever. And I've got a couple areas and then 3 tips, and then we're done. And the first one is, it's all about being personal. This first session is about us personally as leaders. So we want to sharpen the axe by leveling up personally as leaders. And here's a couple areas that I think you could consider and I could consider. How could I sharpen the axe in these areas in 2021? And it's going to affect everything. It's going to affect everything. The first one's energy. I think about that as like our bodies. You know, if we want to get, I learned that if I wanted to get different results to be able to run with more endurance, my sleep mattered. My hydration mattered. The food I was eating mattered. That was the endurance piece. I do know that for those content creators, y'all get it. Y'all are doing crazy batches. We're batching Think Marketing podcasts and different things. And people who watch Think Media go, batching seems impossible. I don't know if I could have the mental clarity. I don't know if I could have the physical energy to do it. And you go, well, that wasn't built overnight. We've been sharpening the axe for years. So is it possible to do a live stream and do this? And here's our goal this next year, right, is to get to the end of Grow With Video Live and actually not feel like we got hit by a bus. We're about to grab an axe and murder our family like The Shining, and come on, and just absolutely be fried. But to get to the end and be tired, know that you just worked out, but be able to even recover faster and have it. That's an energy thing. Question is like, how can I have more energy? How can I have more endurance? That's the body. The next area is the mindset. That's the brain. If energy is the body, mindset's the brain.
How can I be more sharper mentally? How can I have more mental toughness? And I would challenge you that in our industry, especially in a discontinuous change in what we're facing, mental toughness is the game. Being able to hold it together up here, being able to, as more of you and many of you are on camera or in high pressure situations where you're going and I think about just how dynamic Heather has been at different times this year. And one time when she did a live stream, but she got a phone call right before that could not only did it kind of knock her off her game, but she wouldn't have known it. Nobody would have known it. Why? It's a mental toughness thing. Literally a call that would have sidelined a lot of people. And of course, there's those times when maybe you get a call where you're sidelined, and that's okay because you know if you got to take a break, if you got to know self-awareness if you need to sit this one out. But mental toughness is you got live stream chat thrown at you with negative comments and haters. You got drama happening in your family that's been happening all morning long, and you're supposed to do a live stream. And now you're in a pressure situation where Sean is calling you out on Zoom in the morning and asking you for some numbers, and you feel the pressure. Like, it's pressure. Like, there's times when we feel pressure. That's mental toughness. That's that mindset. So different areas we could sharpen in 2021. How are you working on your energy and your endurance? 2, how are you working on your mindset, your brain, if energy is your body? How are you working on your attitude? Number 3, attitude and emotions. That's your heart. If energy is your body, if mindset's your brain, attitude and emotions is the heart. Emotional management. We call this emotional mastery. Now, we have all kinds of different diverse Enneagram numbers in this room, and I'm so excited to learn about how you process your emotions. I don't process mine, but here's actually what I've learned as leaders. It actually is important that we grow to higher levels of emotional mastery, no matter what our Enneagram number is. Because the truth is, emotions are indicators, they're not dictators. Emotions are indicators that, like a gas light in your car, or like an oil light, like you probably need to change the oil. But if you're driving down the street and the oil light turns on, you don't go, oh my gosh, turn over, start a live stream on Instagram, and you'd be like, I can't believe it. I'm gonna need to do an oil change. Mom, I think I need to change the oil. Something's wrong, I'm losing it. No, you schedule an oil change and you address it because there is something that's happening with emotions, but how you react, they're indicators, they're not dictators. Emotional immaturity and leadership immaturity is letting emotions dictate your facial expressions, your energy, how you show up that day. Emotional mastery is like, yeah, I'm going through some stuff, but I know that people are counting on me. I know that my attitude can lift or reduce the room. I know that my energy, even on Zoom, can actually affect things. So it's the attitude and emotional mastery. Just how are we working on our hearts? And I think about over the years for me, whether it's been spiritual practice, whether it's been counseling, whether it's been reading, I've wanted to get stronger in my heart. Because the inner game is the game. The mental toughness is the game, and the inner game is the game. A couple others, communication. These are just like, how can we sharpen the axe? Communication, what do I mean? Self-talk. How you're talking to yourself, how you bounce back from negative comments on a video. In my presentation of my Enneagram, it's one of these things that shows that this is how I think of myself, this big inflated balloon of ego, and one little negative comment is like a pin that can deflate that instantly, and I'll think about it all day long. And so, but I've had to work on my self-talk game. How about this? Team talk. Like, we are not in isolation. We need each other now, and we'll talk about that later. But when we need each other, it's how we're talking to the team. It's, do we talk? Well, I want to grow, and making sure I'm talking in a respectful and a loving and maybe a challenging, but knowing I'm going to learn your personalities. Friendship and family talk. Communication. I think about that because this personal aspect. We're going to win championships because of talented players working together. If we're leveling up as players together, I found that one of the biggest things that can disrupt, think media, is drama in my family. Can I be honest? Sometimes it's really hard
to live with Sonia. I'm just kidding. It's the opposite. It's the opposite. Sometimes for Sonia to live with Sean, and sometimes, listen, communication, sometimes I don't communicate very good. And sometimes that could just be communicating ahead with my spouse that I'm going to be going live, or that something's coming up, or that something's happening. Turns out when I don't communicate that, it starts a domino effect. So now we're starting in the morning. There's a lot at stake that day. It's a challenge that day. It's some stuff to put out. There's some live streams that day. There's some important team meetings that day. Well, now we're fighting. That meeting's starting at 9. We're fighting at 8:53. This is affecting my emotions. This is affecting her emotions. I'm now no longer in my peak state to be the best player for the game that's ahead. That can happen with friends. It can happen with family. So if we're going to sharpen the axe, it actually just has to do with our interpersonal relationships and realizing your personal life is your personal life, but your life at Think is also an at-will employer that we get to decide how you're showing up. So there's something about managing your communication. And then relationships. Drama and toxic relationships can knock you off track for minutes, days, or weeks. And that's up to you, but I just think about sharpening the axe. Man, we're on a mission. We got impact to do. You sometimes have to ask yourself, can I even handle consuming this toxicity when there's thousands, even millions, depending on us for leadership, for encouragement, for motivation. So you can write this down. What's your weakest area personally?
These bars are so delicious and have no added sugar. Looks like he's not the only delicious snack in this house.
iPhone 16e has a durable design and ceramic shield because the average person drops their phone 208 times a year. Make that 209 once they see the price. iPhone 16e. Latest iPhone, greatest price.
And what if strengthened, which area if strengthened would create a domino effect in every other area of your life? And it could be one of those areas. It might just be something that you go, you know what? Man, that's a vulnerability that's the thing that knocks me off track. I mean, maybe it is your energy, your body, maybe it's your mindset, your brain, and working on self-talk, and maybe it's heart and emotions, and man, sometimes emotions get, maybe it's communication, and it's your own self-talk, or it's relationship with others in the team, or relationships with family, and that's one that probably, ever since, we've been married for 15 years now, and ever since we were interns together at a church, and every single Wednesday we would serve together. We would start the morning praying at like 7, and by 7 at night we were having youth group, and we would do outreach all day and make videos all day and do all this stuff, and every day, like clockwork, we were fighting in Sonia's Honda Civic by 4:30 because of pressure and because of learning communication and whatnot. And I was like, I need to minister to youth tonight. Why are you? And she's like, yeah, but you don't even love me. Yeah. And we're like 20. And so, but just what area? What area for you, what's your weakest area personally that if strengthened, listen, would create a domino effect in every area of your life? And hear me, in every area of your life. I know we're talking about personal stuff here, and I want us to make an impact in Think Media, but I care about you personally. That this stuff will make you happier. It'll lift the relationships around you. My hope is this, that if you're connected to Think Media, your whole life flourishes and prospers. Never happens instantly because seeds take time to grow. But that when we sharpen the axe this year, I want to see vibrancy in every area. Your joy, your relationship with families. It's not a problem-free life, but it really is a blessed life because we are seeing the impact of walking in wisdom. So what area is write that down and maybe think, and that could be maybe a 2021 sharpen the axe area for you as we land the plane with 6 minutes and 51 seconds. I'm feeling good. Right? As we sharpen the axe this year, here are just 3 quick personal sharpening the axe strategies that I think that we could implement this next year that could help us. These have helped me, and these are ones I'm working on. Number 1 is a prize fighter morning routine. is a prize fighter morning routine. If we have a better 2021 in every area of our life, but especially on the days we're working, right? Especially on the days where the main thing we're doing that day is think media, man, a prize fighter morning routine can change everything. A couple of thoughts. For me, this was impacted when I was a campus pastor of a church, and we were in arguably one of the second hardest seasons of our life. The amount of pressure, new season, potential leadership dysfunction that we're dealing with. We're also young leaders, and so we're trying to navigate that. And I found myself during this time, I'm drinking more than I should. I'm trying to process my emotions more than I should in negative ways. And I have a lot of bad habits because some nights I'm maybe staying up too late, and I find myself getting up every morning trying to climb like a mountain that's insurmountable of what felt like emotions or the enemies that were in front of me. And I actually discovered a book called The Miracle Morning, and it helped me regain control of my mornings. And the author, Hal Elrod, talked about how he was hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of debt in his business. Basically, he felt like he was drowning, and I felt like I was drowning in the season. And he said, I have to actually win the morning. Even if the day basically kicks my butt, I need to win the morning. And I need to win the morning even before 8 a.m. That I got to get up, get my mind right, get my heart right, get my spirit right. And I'm sure we can all relate. You've probably all had a great morning routine. And then, like me, you still get up sometimes like kind of like a little bit late, and you don't do much. And you're kind of like, a little bit tired, a little bit fatigued, and you sort of stumble into whatever your responsibility is that day as opposed to dominate that first moment of your day. This is really the rise and grind spirit, is it not? And so just a couple thoughts. I learned that a great morning starts the night before. Yeah. That really, it's impossible to have a world-class morning without a world-class evening. And this book simply teaches savers. This is an acronym for just some things that you could include in your morning routine that you might try. And that's a book. And by the way, because I think media, right, will hook you up with any book you want physically or ebook or audiobook. Miracle Morning, if you want to check it out. But it teaches, what he did was he studied all the world-class achievers in different industries. Could be like religion, business, athletics. And he found that they had different things that they did in their morning routines. He then combined them all into 1 hour where you would do these things in an hour. And then it was like an accordion where you could do these things in 30 minutes and you could even do them in 2 minutes. And so it's silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and scripting, which is a fancy word for writing. Savers, write it down. SAVORS, savers. Silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and scripting. Savers. So even if you did it in 2 minutes, you get up, you take some silence, you take some silent time before, no phone, no anything, and you're silent. Maybe a time where you just think about gratitude. For me, I'm like thanking God for life. Silence, a few moments of silence before the day gets crazy. Affirmations, used to think they were cheesy, learned they weren't. Learned that when I wake up in the morning, my mind usually drifts kind of towards negativity and overwhelm. So written affirmations, whatever that means, it could be a prayer, it could be declarations, there's a lot of things you could refine there. It is choosing to be intentional over your emotions and your mind, as opposed to just letting your mind run wild and be like, frick, got a lot to do. Man, I wonder if she's still thinking that about me. I think she is thinking that about me. Gosh, I wonder if Sean's mad. I think he probably is. Man, I wonder if me and my husband are going to be. I wonder, like, you get it. So affirmations. The third is visualization. This is powerful. World-class athletes close their eyes and visualize the game they're about to play. They think about being in the locker room. They think about putting their shoes on. They think about playing the game. They think about the shots they're going to make. They think about how the crowd's going to sound. They think about the haters that are going to be waving, things to distract them and how they're going to shut that out. World-class snowboarders think about the whole course. They've practiced, and they think about how they're going to do that 720 corked rodeo flip. They think about how they're going to land, how it's going to feel. They actually play out the game in their mind. Content creators, if you're going to go live or you're going to speak on stage and any kind of thing like that, that's a major thing of actually playing out. How am I going to close? How am I going to open? How are people going to feel? What's going to be? That's visualization. E is for exercise, savers. I gave you the wrong letter. It's savers, not ors or whatever. There's no O. So silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise. This doesn't mean 2 hours of weightlifting. It means maybe you just stretch and go for a walk.
I found if you go outside and get some fresh air, changes everything. You know, and then reading, which is scripting, the last S, reading is the R, and that's just like reading something. I read it like my Bible for my spiritual practice, but I like to just read something that's going to get my mind sharpened, get me in the mode of kind of business. Usually more kind of like a Think and Grow Rich book, or kind of like a Limitless book by Jim Quick, something like that. It just kind of gets me thinking bigger. And then finally, scripting is writing, is journaling a little bit, and this might be where like, what are my priorities today? Who are the people I need to reach out today? All that kind of stuff. But the scripting, as I destroy my time now, I bragged too early, but I will land the plane quick. Scripting and writing could also be writing out your intention for the day. What if we set an intention like, this is how I want people to feel on Zoom today. I want the team to feel encouraged. Or today, this is what the intention of the day is. Okay, so just a prize-fighting morning routine. I don't think there's anything about trying to copy somebody else's morning routine, but I would argue this. It's impossible to be world-class without a world-class morning routine that you design yourself. And so if we sharpen the axe in 2021, it's by winning our mornings so we can win the day. Second, PDP. What is your personal development plan for 2021? We can talk about that later and just for speed, but the question is like, what do you want to grow in this next year? Some years I've wanted to grow as a leader every year. Some years I've wanted to get better at delegating though. Some years I want to be better at thinking about how to manage our finances as a family. Some years I want to think about growing in different areas of communication or speaking. It's kind of like, what are you studying? And when you have a personal development plan, it means your personal development and growth is intentional, not haphazard. And number 3, Heather's favorite, planning. Planning, time blocking. So
planning me too is out of the
so chewy
And big! Chips Ahoy. Big chew.
Incoming dishes! Doc! Dawn Power Wash flies through 99% of grease and grime in half the time.
Yeah, it absorbs grease 5 times faster. It even replaces multiple cleaning products.
Ooh, those suds got game.
Dawn Power Wash, the better grease getter.
Shows how important it is, Omar.
So our personal axe sharpening strategies, a prize fighting morning routine, we win the morning, we'll win the day. We have a personal development plan, we're sharpening the axe all year long. But planning is about order in your life, right? About order in your life. All the parents say yes and amen. They realize that as soon as you shift to that season, you need a whole nother dimension of planning just to survive. Like, you might not even be thriving. You're just trying to get through the day with planning. But something about order in your life. If we want to have order in Think Media, we need order in our personal lives. Like, because we all are interconnected, right? Talented players win games, but teams win championships. But as talented players, it's taking it to another level of planning. Write this down. This is one thing I'd love for us to do in 2021 is seeing further in the future and just thinking further ahead and having more foresight. So constantly just thinking more into the future. Oh man, okay, so if I do this 10-part video series, well, that could go here, and I could think even further ahead. That could get us even further ahead. We could even record Sean's leadership talks here. That could get us 2 podcasts, and we could put those out when now those are done. So that gets us even further ahead. We only have 52 podcasts this year, so how can we do it? Well, actually, if we cut these into 2 parts, that's 4 leadership podcasts, because we could do, and so just more foresight, but more planning. And I love this quote from Brian Tracy. Every minute you spend planning saves you 10 minutes in execution and gives you a 1,000% return on energy. My friends, that's a sharpening the axe strategy. Because if you go dull axe, end of the day, I'm freaking exhausted, man, and all the wood's not even chopped yet. But if you go, man, every minute spent in planning saves 10 minutes in execution and gives you a 1,000% return on energy, my friends, we can do what we did in 2020 better in 2021. And my goal is that we'd have more fun doing it, is that we would have more margin doing it, is that we're going to have times of pressure and stress. That's normal and healthy. But we're going to have less. We're not going to hit verges of burnout, Mel, after a Grow With Video.
The call out was real.
At the end of
of Growth Video Live.
I wasn't dying.
It's probably my fault, but it's also your personal management fault, right? So listen, planning, thinking further ahead. Delegation.
Really work on that delivery.
The delivery of love. I told you earlier, I already confessed. Communication, team talks. No, you're world class. You're amazing. It's out of heart for you. I don't want you to be on the verge. Okay. The plane is being landed with some quotes. Final plane landing quotes. Zig Ziglar said this: people often say that motivation doesn't last. Well, neither does bathing. That's why we recommend it daily.
Come on. It's good.
PDP, man, prize fighting morning routine. We keep it hot, we keep it sharp all year long. What you do daily determines what you become permanently. John C. Maxwell, you will never change your life until you change something you do daily. The secret to your success is found in your daily routine. And so, my friends, 2021, it's time to sharpen the axe. And it starts with me, and it starts with you. That this year, we're going to do a lot of the same things, but we're going to do them better. We're going to do them smarter. Let's sharpen the axe. That's the value of wisdom. It helps us succeed.
Well, I hope that brought you value. I hope getting that fly on the wall, behind the scenes experience with what we do here at Think Media was helpful to you and your content journey. And I want to just walk through those questions again that Sean asked. And that first question was, do you think you can accomplish more this year than last year? I want you to get a journal out and actually write these down, because this is what's going to move you forward in your YouTube career. The next question was, do you think you can earn more money this year than last year? And I believe that you can if you start treating YouTube like a business, if you start to see the potential and you commit to the sacrifice of creating the content. Also, do you think you can manage your time better in 2021? If you know anything about us here at Think Media, this is one of the biggest pieces that we love to tell you about, and that's time management. Can you get your Google Calendar right? Can you know when you're wanting to make those videos and edit those videos? Do you know when you want to be on social media? Owning your time is so important. Would it be possible to manage your emotions better in 2021? I know for me, this is a big one. I get triggered when I'm on social media and when I'm talking with friends about the things